Shout out to my boy Mason Racing 248. Don't leak the codes, brother. Never leak the codes. Loose lips sink ships. Remember that. Remember that. Plus, also, everything I know about this guy, you don't want to piss him off, mate. He probably knows where you live. There's probably a satellite watching you right fucking now.
Mason, I've got your social security number in front of me.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for joining us. We are here today with the one, the only, Mr. EOD USSS, Secret Service, badass motherfucker, the story of Frattinz. How you doing, buddy?
I am good, man. I am good. And just wanted to say, big thank you. Been a student of this game for a long time, and a big fan of your podcast and all the stuff that you've done and put out and worked on. I've seen you advocating for the issues on console. I think the furthest back video that I found you talking about it was 2020, 2019, somewhere in there. And that means a lot, because if we can see a history and a trail of somebody who's looking out for us, it makes a big difference. And just thanks. It's been great to see you talk to all the people.
I've never played it on console. I've never played it on console. I look at it and I just go, I don't know how the fuck you guys can play this game. Like, I struggle to play it with a mouse and keyboard. That's how retarded I am. I have literally no clue how you can fucking clickety with a controller, man. But I have so much respect, and I was a console gamer back in the day as well. So of course I'm going to love my brothers and sisters on console. The only thing I hate you for is the concessions they've had to make to the game to accommodate console. But I'm a smart enough guy to realize that that's business. That's how business works. You know, a game like DayZ, it's a niche game. It, you know, what's its highest? 70,000 concurrent on PC. That's not enough to keep a game going, especially with a monetization model like DayZ. What, 2 paid DLCs in all this time? Unless you're doing an aggressive monetization, you can't afford to keep a massive dev team going. So they had to look at other options, and console was an easiest one. It sucks, but that's life.
Yeah. Hey, on that note, I just want to say, if you look back at the numbers for DayZ's player count, around the time right before they released the console, the numbers were dipping and the game was in a bad state. They released it to console and the numbers shot up, and they haven't gone down since what? I mean, when was that? Was it 2017?
It's a feeder to PC, mate. So many people on the console version, they look at it and they go, I want more. And then they end up going and buying a PC so that they can get access to the mods. They can get access to all the different maps that they can't play on console.
It's a gateway drug. No, that's absolutely right. Dude, I have lost countless friends in this game to the PC DayZ, and I don't blame them for it. I never give them a hard time. Actually, that's a fucking bold-faced lie. I definitely do. But
you're poking shit at them. There's nothing wrong with poking shit.
Yeah,
taking the piss, taking the mickey, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But we have jumped ahead. We have jumped far ahead. I like to finish on the DayZ and how DayZ is part of your life and all the rest of it.
Nice.
So we need to find out a little bit more about you, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Frattinz. Why do you call yourself not Frattinz on Discord?
That's just an homage to Tfue. You familiar with Fortnite?
Yeah. Tfue, the content creator.
Yeah, I think the gamer tag or whatever on PC that he played under was not Tfue. And I always thought that was cheeky. So it's just a nod to Tfue. And obviously, like, the Z in my name is a nod to the Running Mans and to DayZ, to those things. But the like Frattin, the name, the lore with that is actually pretty fucking funny. In college, my buddies and I played NHL, the video game on console, and we were the Fister Sisters. That was our team name. And hey, listen, not just a great name. We were 104th in the world on the official rankings for console in 2013 and 2014. And like,
what game was this again? I got caught up in Fister Sister. What game was this again?
It's NHL. It's just a hockey game, but that was our team name, and the logo was a giant fist. And we shredded. So you're looking at Frat and Paw Fister here. I always kept the frat part. So morphed.
What when did you start gaming? What was your first exposure? What era did you come into starting to play video games?
I mean, I must have been 5 or 6. Parents got me a Nintendo 64 for Christmas. And I mean, dude, N64, we bought them in college and would play Nintendo 64 with all my roommates and my buddies, like as a pregame, as an after game. We like never put it down. We still to this day argue over like who's got the cum sticks, which are the ones stained and soaked with all the gunk and the filth over the years, and who's got the good sticks. Because somebody's got them. Someone took them from my dorm room and nobody's owned up to it, you know, and I like to remind them of that when I see them.
Mm-hmm.
But no, yeah. So I mean, dude, I've been playing it for as long as I could hold a controller, and that is the answer to why like I stick with the console DayZ. I'm a console gamer. I'm just not interested in playing on PC. I know for a fact that the game is is better on PC. There's more to do. The mods fix a lot of the issues that I'm here to complain about on console. But dude, there's just something about sitting down in your fucking chair on your couch and like picking up the controller and hitting one button and not having to download the new, you know, gigatwatt drive and PPU just to be able to get.
It's so much simpler on console. It's literally just launch the game, play, and unless there's a bug in the game itself, or you get a random console breakage, which is usually just a warranty repair. Take it back to where you bought it from, and they'll give you a new one. It's so much easier. It is. It is definitely the simplicity of playing is yeah.
And in a lot of ways, man, playing on console is a truer representation of like a fair and even playing field. My argument for that is that you know, with a PC you can buy high-end graphics card, high-end PCs with monitors that let you adjust things visually that make the map and characters pop out from like larger distances, and that kind of shit always bugged me because I'm not looking to push the envelope on what my console can do. I just want to push the envelope on what I can do as a player. Anything that's in a controlled space for the game, keeping something like a fucking hardcore survival game fair and even is fucking critical to me. And I like things even and fair. I'm also a twat, but that's it.
So if you see me looking over to the side, I've got my golden retriever Max in here with me. Yesterday was a bit of a scary day. Little guy had a seizure right in front of me. So he was at the vet until late last night. Got home around about 2 a.m. So he's in here just recovering. He seems to be better now, but he's obviously very, very tired. And I'm keeping him in here so he's nice and cool. His temperature got up over 40 degrees, which isn't as bad as for a human hitting that, but it's still probably in the 38 to 39 degrees sort of temperature as a human. So not good.
So he sounds like a good boy. I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Oh, mate, he's the best boy. He's the best boy. I love him to death. He's the first dog that's ever chosen me as his primary person that we've had. They usually all go to the missus, but yeah. The facility, I don't know why you didn't have it. It was literally, I just noticed it then. It was like, why have I not modded facility on my YouTube channel? That's just madness. Facility's a fucking legend. I love the guy. Did you watch the episode I did with Facility?
I watched not all of it, but I did watch like I want to say the first quarter.
Yeah.
Wicked cool stuff. My brother's huge into jujitsu.
Yep.
I mean, he's big enough where he like fucking my brother is a psychopath, smart kid. He went and got everybody on his street that he lives with, and he built a jujitsu gym in his basement, and then he hired a coach that they all pay that comes to his basement, and they all do training down there. And it's
I reckon
cool.
Facility would love that. You know what Facility does for law enforcement officers?
I did catch a little bit of that part as well. He does like
free lessons,
free lessons and classes.
That is just brilliant. That is just we need more of that. And yeah, this is sorry guys, but this is a classic Boydie podcast episode. I have the attention span of a goldfish, and we'll end up going off on tangents. But it's probably a really good one to bring up with our guest because. That is, we'll talk before the show about Vigilante Gamer, and he's done videos and Facilities even recorded footage for one of his videos. for him, talking about one of the main issues that we see with a lot of police officer violence is their complete lack of training in how to grapple and control people, because they're underfunded. Despite what people say, they're underfunded, and this is across the board. They need more training. Did you get much when you were doing that sort of work?
I did, but I was a Fed, like a federal agent for most of my time, and the Feds don't really have an issue when it comes to funding for their training facilities. I was lucky enough to get a bunch of jujitsu classes in the academy for the Secret Service that were tailored towards jujitsu, because that is the future of law enforcement, is moving towards a jujitsu model. And there's no better way to instill confidence in an officer. And confidence makes the scene safer for everybody involved. And there's also just frankly no safer way to control a guy physically than with jujitsu techniques. So I mean, facility, big shout out to you and the work that you do. I think that's amazing. And just don't forget, man, like these agencies in the state you live or wherever you are, whether or not they're aware of it, somebody in that department knows that everyone needs more jujitsu. So start fucking nagging these guys, man. Fucking and make some cash. Go to their academy and become their jujitsu instructor. Make some money doing it, because you're providing a real need that these departments all have. And you will see in our lifetime, jujitsu will become a big part of every single police academy. There's a bunch of old heads and 90s cops that are still in the headquarters of police departments across the country that are holding it back, that don't believe it's necessary, that aren't interested in it, and don't want to do it. And that's all that it is, man. Okay, that's all that it is.
So
shout out to facility.
Again, randomness. Facility. Frattinz can use his credentials to track down these DayZ cheaters, go to their homes. FBI, open up! Just like a Jake Silent Bob strike back. Yeah. No, that definitely needs to happen. We need to see more of that. So we've jumped a little bit ahead, but obviously you finished college. When did you join the National Guard?
So I was always interested in the military. I was just I was a kid who was playing Army with his buddies, shooting guns with sticks growing up, that kind of thing, BB guns, paintball. And when I went to college, I got a phone call from my mother, who was like, hey, look, we didn't really plan on how to pay your way through college. So the money that we have for you isn't going to last longer than, a couple semesters. So she said, start exploring ways for funding. And that's really all it took. I sent one email to the Army ROTC office at my college, and he got back to me, wrote one sentence, said, join ROTC and we'll pay for everything. And I never looked back. So I thought I was killing two birds with one stone, because I always wanted to go to college, and I strongly encourage everybody else to do it just for the fucking experience. Made lifelong friends that introduced me to DayZ in college, and had the fucking time of my life. Met my wife there. We've got 3 kids now.
That's awesome.
And ROTC was good for me because I'm a fucking dipshit, and without it, I think I would have been probably partying a little bit too much, not paying attention to my studies too much. But ROTC kept me in shape, kept me focused on a goal for afterwards, and that became my life. I put my heart and soul into it as soon as I joined. But on that note, it's ironic. Like, I've never been a straight A student. I had to work hard to get B's and C's, just frustrating. And shout out Howie. It's my boy from home. This guy was playing N64 with me when we were fucking kids. That's our star quarterback in my high school. He's the fucking man, big tough Irish son of a bitch, and he'll shred in DayZ, he'll shred in PUBG. He's the fucking man. So thanks for being here, Al. You'll catch him in a bunch of my streams if you tune in. But all right, before I forget, I broke my fucking balls in college trying to get good grades, but I couldn't do too great. But I put my heart and soul into the ROTC thing, worked hard enough to get 3rd ranked in my state for all of the cadets. So when that happens, you're basically given a pat on the back by your battalion commander, and he's like, congratulations, you're going to get active duty. You don't have to go guard. What do you want to do? Tell him what I want to do, because I was doing infantry at the time, And because I'm a little sensitive about how fucking retarded I feel sometimes, I said, what's the like most technically difficult thing to do in the military? And they said it was EOD. And I met some EOD guys when I was doing my time in the infantry, and I thought they were fucking cool as shit. And I said, yeah, let's like challenge ourselves and go do that.
There's got to be something fucking wrong in the head with a lot of those guys who want to do EOD, because it's literally a job where there is zero margin for error. You fuck up, you're not going home. And that attracts a certain type of person, doesn't it?
Yeah. And that's something that I used to have to relay to my brigade commander a bunch when it came to our training, because we're fighting for resources in the brigade, and trying to make that point to him about how, like, look, you know, if like a commo guy has a bad day, like a fucking radio like didn't transmit a signal, like if an infantry guy had a bad day, like, yeah, I'm sure he could get shot, God forbid. Like if an EOD guy has a bad day downrange, he's just not coming home. And it was tough to explain that without sounding like a cunt, because, you know, there's plenty of combat arms in the military doing dangerous things on behalf of democracy around the world. But the EOD thing was a little bit more intimate, because you're touching a fucking IED that anybody with a brain can put like secondary triggers on, meaning like they can be like
tilt switches and all that other sort of shit. You know, if you touch it with something metal, it connects an extra power source and it detonates. I did a pioneer course in the infantry back in the day, and that was basically like an infantry version of engineers, and part of that was explosives, and we did booby traps as part of that, and that was some of the scariest fucking shit that still sticks with me to this day. Just how simple some of that shit is to make. Sadly, you know, we've seen that the Boston Marathon bomber, you know, a very, very simple one that, you know, almost any retard could make. And that's just on a very basic level. And then you go all the way to the Unabomber, a guy with a massive IQ, and he was able to make incredibly complex bombs that, you know, it's scary shit. And then when you consider what the military industrial complex can produce, yeah, you know, the people who are tasked with diffusing this shit, it's fucking scary.
Yeah, and it's actually ironic that you brought that up. I know I bent your fucking ear before we started about not doxing myself, but that was my unit that responded to the Boston Marathon bombing. It happened before I joined. I was in the pipeline with the unit, but I wasn't there. You know, I was often in training beforehand. But you know, the story from the guys that were there was pretty fucking insane, because, like, do you remember towards the end how there was a big shootout with the last brother in a boat? So my unit's there. The first on the scene was Boston PD. They show up on the west side of the property where the shooter was hiding in the boat. Next on scene was the state police. They show up on the east side. And last on scene was the FBI and my Army EOD unit. And the FBI take my guys onto the roof of the house while the cops are on either side of the yard. The Boston cop looks over the top of the fence towards the boat, and he sees something poking from the tarp of the boat that the kid was hiding in. And what it was a finger, but the Boston cop thought it was the barrel of a gun, because it's dark out, you know, it's night.
Yeah.
So he opens fire on it, and it pierces the boat, goes through the fence, and starts nailing state police cars on the east side. And the state police are like, we're taking contact, we're taking fire. And they return fire through the boat, Swiss cheese, start hitting Boston PD cars, landing rounds next to them. So they turned the fucking boat to Swiss cheese. And the only people with eyes on the situation, understanding that there was no fire coming from the boat, was the feds and my Army unit. And this is just a lesson for American law enforcement and the military. Like, we have all this money, all this time and equipment, but everyone's on different channels.
Like, this is one thing that, again, you know, we're going off onto a tangent again, but this is kind of what we in the lead up to this. Frattinz said he was open to talking about anything and everything, and, you know, someone with his background and experience at this sort of level. But I'm constantly stunned by the sheer volume of different law enforcement agencies that the United States has. Like, I think I did a Google search, and it was something like 9,000 plus, maybe more, of agencies that can technically arrest you for an offence, which blows my mind, because here in Australia, there's pretty much three. There is the federal police, the state police, and then there is a very small amount of, they call them sheriffs, I think, for the local councils. And even then, I don't believe that they can. They've got to get the state police to come and do it. So essentially, we've got two agencies that act as the arresting forces. And barring the few times where they've called in the Army to help with tracking someone down, it's only those two agencies. So there's little chance. But even then, we still have communication errors. We had the between states, we had the William shooting about a year and a bit ago that you may have heard of, where a couple of those fucking retard sovereign citizen types, they ambushed some cops that were going there to serve a warrant. And the one of the state police knew information that never got really properly relayed to the three cops, I think it was 3 or 4 cops who went there on the day to arrest him. And they turned up there, just general duties. Here in Australia, unlike in the UK, even our general duties carry pistols. But they were pistols up against high-powered rifles. And these people had made hideouts. They'd made basically little sniper nests, and they ambushed them, and 2 cops sadly died. And the third was hit, and the 4th got away cleanly. Even though he took a lot of fire. But when you start bringing more and more into it, straight away off the top of your head in America, you can think, CIA, FBI. I don't think the CIA can arrest internally, because they're overseas focused service, but FBI, Secret Service, US Marshals, the fucking tax agents, when that ad for a while back where they wanted fucking armed marshals for, what the fuck, you want your tax guy, your IRS to have fucking guns? What the fuck, America? Come on, bro. I can't imagine just how crazy that would have been, that scene. That's the first I've heard about that. I've watched a lot of videos on that. I'm fascinated by this sort of stuff, but yeah, it's so easy. Even in military units, they call it a blue on blue, folks. And it happens all the time. Once bullets start flying, people just go into fight or flight mode. And the majority of the time, when you're in those frontline roles, you go into fight mode. You can't flight. So you just start shooting. Shoot first, ask questions later.
Yeah, no, it's true. Like a rapidly developing situation. I might have got the terminology wrong, but that's what it's referred to in law enforcement. To explain like the chaos of being in a situation like that, with the lack of communication, getting tunnel vision from a gunfight, and making split decisions that can, change your fucking life forever.
Best laid plans only last until the first bullet is fired.
Yeah, it's no joke. But that incident happened, and I got my commission the following year. So that the following year was 2014, and that was when Obama cut the military in half. So I get called into my brigade commander's office, and he's like, "Hey kid, I know you broke your balls in college doing this ROTC thing," because that's like all I focused on. It was my big thing. Sorry, they're not taking any more officers to the active duty side, so you have to go guard. So I was like, fuck, that was crushing. It was a big blow. So I put in for that unit. Prior, I already had stuff lined up, and went full speed into that. And when I EOD school was EOD school is no joke. The attrition rate there is 86%. It's actually higher than special forces selection. And it's not that it's, it is just as difficult, but it's not as difficult in the same means. Like it's difficult because it's technically challenging. The school is like a year long, and every single fucking day you are tested, and you're only allowed, it's like a 3-strike system. So if you fail 3 tests over the course of a year, you're gone. And I know guys that failed towards the end. There was I started with a class of 36. I graduated with 10 or 15 guys. And that's only because we end up with guys in your class that roll back from a failure in a class ahead of you. But I graduated the class that I went with. They made me the class OIC, which, everyone And it was always ironic to me that you're in a military situation with a bunch of people who want to be leaders, senior leaders on the NCO side or the officer side of the house, and nobody wants to be the leader. I never fucking put in for anything, right? I'd let people volunteer me, but getting
the first rule of the Army, mate, you don't volunteer for anything.
Yeah, you get voluntold. But I would let the other guys voluntold me because I didn't want to look like a prick, in the class. But I would never turn it down, because if you got it, even though the OIC position in a situation like that is a little bit more difficult, a lot more responsibility and work that you had to do, like, you get more face time with the instructors on a fucking course that has an 86% attrition rate. And that helped me. It helped me so much, in fact, that during the landmines session for EOD school, I was digging to get underneath this landmine to get a booby trap out for this test phase, and digging in the fucking Florida sand, out comes this massive red ant colony all over me, biting me, stinging me, like I'm losing my mind. The instructor that's assessing me for this portion stands up and says, "I'm going to go get some water." And he walks away and leaves. And I took that as his way of being like, fix it. So I literally pulled the landmine out of the ground, completely unrealistically, removed the thing, put it back, put all the dirt back. And he came back and he's like, "Hey, did you figure it out?" And I was like, "Oh, I did. And I passed." So that's the kind of shit, like, you put your heart and soul into something and try, like, people will look out for you. There's some badge protecting that happens in the military and in law enforcement, but it's because if someone sees something in you, they will go an extra mile to see to it that you succeed. And that's like a fucking euphemism for life. Like, you can make mistakes constantly, but if you make mistakes in good faith, it'll never be held against you.
There is a book that I talk about, and I don't know how many people have gone and read it, but I can't remember the name of the author, but you can find this book easily, and it's called Black Box Thinking. And it is one of the best books that everyone needs to read and learn from. And it's basically, it talks about, and sadly it hasn't been holding true, what we've been finding out about Boeing of late, and some of the dodgy shit that they've been doing. But overall, the flight industry is the benchmark of embracing mistakes, because it's one of those things, a bit like, with, what your job used to be, EOD. Mistakes are fatal. Mistakes in that are generally always fatal, and fatal on scales that are fucking scary as fuck. And the whole thing about black box thinking is embracing failure. But failure should be more important than success, because you'll never succeed if you don't learn from your mistakes. And it's this whole book talking about how open and how much knowledge share there is between the different aviation companies in general, that when there are errors, different countries, they all come together, united, to share information about what went wrong. Whenever there's a plane crash, you'll generally see multiple agencies all coming together to share their expertise and get to the root cause problem of what caused this. And there are industries, and it specifically addresses the health system, where it's the exact opposite, where all they do is, deny, deflect, cover up, and all the rest of it. And they don't embrace that. It is so important to learn from your mistakes in that. Embrace failure, folks. It's so important to do it.
Yeah. And brother, on that note, like, all those things that happened to me throughout my career, law enforcement, not getting active duty, and then trying to leverage what my interests were, and falling into the Secret Service from the EOD thing. Like, I'm a firm believer that everything in life happens for a reason, but not just that. Like, things in life happen for a reason if you're like good faith pursuing your interests, good faith putting in the work to pursue your interests. If you don't get the fucking thing you were looking for, there's probably something adjacent to it that you're gonna land in. And that's the one piece of advice I could take away, like, for life, for anybody that gives a shit, would be that, especially for the young guys, because it's easy to get sidetracked, I think, in school and in college and with your career.
So why did you go for the Secret Service?
The short answer is, like, after. Say again?
Sounded cool.
Yeah, it did sound cool. Obviously, when I graduated EOD school, I had to go. It's the National Guard, so I needed to go into like the workforce, and I had applications in with the state police and with a couple of other local law enforcement. But the federal side of the house, because it was 2014, there was a lot being cut back at the time. But the only agency that's like always hiring, because it's a tough agency to keep bodies in, because it's such a fucking grueling lifestyle, was the Secret Service. So I put in for it and did the applications. And that's another thing too. People think the Secret Service is like the CIA, where like they come find you. Like it's not like that. I applied to the job on usajobs.com. So if there's any young guys listening or anybody interested in pursuing that, you know, make an account on usajobs.com or usajobs.gov, one of those two. You can Google it and put an application in. And the recruitment process was grueling and long. The academy was even more so. But yeah, it was just like I was trying to get into federal law enforcement, wanted to do something cool. I joined the Secret Service for the protection side, to wear the suit and the earpiece and to travel the world and all that shit. But I ended up falling in love with the investigations. But you know, before we get to that point, the one thing I will say is like, and you'll appreciate this, you know, putting in for something like the Secret Service, the recruitment process is it's ironic because it's the agency that's always recruiting, but it also has the toughest recruitment process. And it's not toughest because of any PT standard, like physical training standard, or anything like that. It's toughest because of the fucking polygraph. Okay. The polygraph fails everyone that tries to go Secret Service. It's because it is a fucking ear rape sesh. Like you're in there for 3 or 4 hours and they're asking you like if you've ever jerked off to kiddie porn, if you've ever jerked off to like bestiality, have you ever stolen anything? One of the questions I got, the one question that I got that was fucking hung me up the longest, the guy was like, "Are you a liar?" And I'm like, have I ever told my ma that I was at Howie's house when I was really at like Susie's house trying to get a hand job behind the bleachers? Like, yeah, I've done that, but I'm not like, I don't consider myself like a liar. And we went back and forth on that topic for like an hour and a half.
Wow.
It's grueling. People fail a lot because of that one.
Do you put much stock in those lie detector tests?
No, knowing what I know now, I'll say this. I lied on my lie detector test and I got away with it. So what does that tell you? Which is funny because are you a liar? The question was about drugs, and I had done a fucking bunch of drugs right before a month before the test, well within the range of, you can't, like with the Secret Service, there's like a 7-year grace period where it's like if you smoked weed or done anything else, as long as you did it like 7 years before the application date, they don't even care. But I had done a bunch at a big party like a month before. Then I answered no on that, and the guy blew right by it. So, I mean, no, to answer your question.
Because I've heard you can basically, you can defeat them if you know how. There's certain ways to control your body and all the rest of it. But, yeah, it's one of those things that always makes me laugh because it really is weird science that's behind that. You may as well be doing, what is it, the fucking thing with the cranium and...
the lobotomy? Yeah. I don't know.
No, not lobotomy, but there was that thing back in the early 1900s, I think, where they could detect your personality. It was based in racist thing.
Eugenics.
Yeah, along the lines of eugenics, but it was something to do with the shape of your skull, and it was just weird fucking science. It was like, and they still use it so much. I've got more faith in bite mark fucking, which I know is another one that's hotly contested at the moment, but. Phrenology, thank you, Zyson.
There it is. Zyson.
That's my secret power, mate. Is I know smart people, and Zyson is one of them. Zyson runs an amazing server here down under, called surprisingly DayZ Down Under. But yeah, trust the science. Exactly, trust the science. Science is always right. It's never changing.
Yes, never.
It's right, and that's it until it changes.
He's genuinely one of the funniest human beings I've ever met. Half of my shticks and my humor is just stolen from Hal and ripped off. So, shout out Hal. Sorry about that, man.
It's awesome. But yeah, so you've done the selection process. What happens after you're accepted?
All right. After you're selected, you're offered 5 field offices to go to. And it's usually based on the needs of the service. But I actually respect that. I think that's a good way of doing it because
there's no like Secret Service training school.
Oh, no, there is. Yeah. I had to go to the academy, but they offered me 5 field offices. I picked the one that was closest to home. But then you go off to the academy, and that's like, I think that was like a year and a half because you have to go to the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center in Glencoe, Georgia. to get like the base level federal law enforcement training that they want, and then you follow on to the Secret Service specialty training. And the Secret Service specialty training was like was no joke. You know, I've never been like a PT stud. You know, I've always been able to, you know, pass all those things, but I always struggled. Like, it's not like I was maxing the PT test. You know what I mean? Like, and I always
the only thing I could do was march. The only thing I was good at was marching. I could put a pack on my back, and I could outmarch almost anyone. But running, forever. Chin ups, ropes, all the rest of it, dude, I struggled. I always had to fucking work so hard just to achieve the bare minimum and slightly above it.
Yeah, yeah.
I was a sit-up machine.
Yeah, I've never not maxed the sit-up thing, but that was the only thing that I could do without training. But the academy was, you know, it was a trip, man. It was crazy. It was similar to the, you know, EOD school, where the sessions, failing one, though, you're gone and you're out.
And I imagine there's a high behavior standard expected of you as well.
Yeah, there is. Because they don't want fucking weirdos and guys with issues to be in the job. Because you have to imagine, like, with being in that position, you're in close proximity constantly to leaders of like the free world. So there's tons of stuff that you're going to hear and see, just like I have, which I want so desperately to tell you guys some of these things, because it would blow your mind and it would, you know, it'd be cool. But out of respect for the job and trying to be a silent professional, like you can't. But that's a big part of it too. In the academy for the Secret Service, there's no federal law enforcement agency in the country that shoots more in training than the service does, because they want you to be proficient with a firearm around a protectee and their families and in public spaces where we are. So, I mean, I've got buddies that like were fucking shit hot dudes who just were from states that aren't gun owners and families that weren't gun owners, and they failed out during one of the literally thousands of shooting quals that we had. And that was always tragic to me. Like, I got a fucking good story on that one. One of my boys is next to me on the range. His last name is similar to mine, so he's literally next to me on the range. They do it by alphabetically. And we're shooting, and I'm shooting, and I've never had a problem shooting. I never struggled, but I'm next to him at the qual day, and I smell iron, like thick iron. And I'm like, damn, that is so fucking pungent. I'm like, it smells like blood. And I look down to my right, and there's a fucking pool of blood at my buddy's feet. And I look over to him, and the instructor's not around. And I'm like, you know, I'll just say his name was Mike. I'm like, Mike, fucking, did you just fucking shoot yourself? I'm like, are you fucking all right? Like, what's going on? And he says to me, he goes, he looks at me and he goes, shut the fuck up. I'm having a good day. He was passing, and he what he did was he rode his shooting hand too high in the pistol grip. And when the slide came back, it sliced the webbing of his,
okay.
Index fingers, and he was pissing blood. And he looks at me and, without skipping a beat, shut the fuck up. I'm having a good day. And I said, okay, all right.
That's so funny. I remember I did a military armed combat course when I was in the Army. And one of the things they taught us was how to disarm someone with a pistol. And one of the first things they teach you was, if you can, you've got to get close up and you've got to grab the pistol. So, you know, you've got the pistol like that. You grab it on the slide so that when they fire off one shot, if you've got a tight enough grip, the slide won't move. So the weapon basically becomes a brick unless they can reload it. And a mate of mine, when I did 9 years in the Army, and I did all the training with pistols. I never shot one once. Even though I was a SIG and I carried a pistol, I never fired live rounds from a pistol, but I knew all the training. And a mate of mine, after I got out, when they did another round of gun buybacks, he was selling his Glock. And I was telling him about that. And he goes, oh, you couldn't do it with a Glock. And I was like, why? And he goes, the gas vents are on the top. You could do it, but you're going to get fucking hurt. Because the gas comes out the top, it's going to burn the fuck out of your hand. And he put a Coke can on top and showed me, and yeah, it just the can just went. And I was like, I can't imagine how painful that would be, all that gas just point blank onto your hand. But those slides, they move real fucking hard and fast. Thankfully, it was just that hurt his hand, but yeah. Geez, he must have been spilling a bit of claret for you to be able to smell the blood.
Yeah, well, you I mean, I imagine you are familiar with what that smell is. Yes. Like, but on the Glock note, one of the trainings that we got was on a similar thing. And what I will say is that Glock specifically will, like, even if there's a round in the chamber and the trigger is pulled, if you manipulate the slide of the Glock pistol in any way, shape, or form, like disengaging it from its fully seated position, it won't fire. So that was one of the things we were taught, because we carry Glocks in the Secret Service, but we also come, it's one of the most common pistols in the world. So like if you're ever held up and you're able to see it's a Glock and you have to tussle for the gun, if you can get your hand on the slide and just fucking push it backwards, like literally jam your fucking palm into the barrel of a Glock to push the slide back, it won't fire, and you can wrestle over it. And it's just a fun fact that you learn in the service.
So yeah, you're doing the academy, and it's a very, very tough course. What do they focus on mostly? Do they specialize depending on which branch you're going into? Because from what I understand, there's two branches, isn't there? There's the financial regulation side, and then there's the bodyguard protective side.
So everybody gets the same training in the academy, for the entrance level. When you're done, you get dispatched to like a field office. When you're not working protection, you are working cases, and the cases that you're working are financial crimes. In fact, let me see, where is it here? Okay, like the service. A little fun fact here. We'll get into this now. It was founded in 1865 to physically combat the counterfeit currency issue in the country at the time, because at that time, like, you could make anything that resembled a bill, and there was no checks and balances, no security measures within the note to make it look legitimate. But then in 1901, President McKinley gets assassinated, and Congress designates the U.S. Secret Service to be like the permanent protective detail for all presidents going forward. And it's ironic because a lot of the people that I know went service for the protection side of the house, but you end up falling in love with working cases, because like it is cool traveling the world with people that you see on TV. And like I met fucking Robert Downey Jr., which I thought was fucking super cool, and he was fucking awesome. He's like Iron Man, like in real life. It was cool to talk to him. But there is no better feeling than like working a case as like a Fed and like making a big break in it, and you're like, oh, I got this son of a bitch now. And then like putting cuffs on like a scumbag and like putting him in federal prison and federal lockup. It's not like state lockup in the States where like good behavior, you get released early. No. You get sentenced to federal time. You serve every second of every minute of every hour that you were sentenced to. And that always and I really fell in love with that. Like it was just a cool lifestyle. But yeah, it's not like you split and become like a investigator or a protection guy. You just go to a field office, and then as protection assignments come to your field office, you like dispatch and serve it. When you're done with the first phase of your career, you move on to phase 2, which is the protection side. And that's where you are sent to a detail. So it could be the president's detail, PPD, vice president's detail.
Is there further security checks, or is there just like a blanket standard for all before they assign you to something? Like, I imagine if you're going to be sent to protect the president or the vice president, or a foreign leader or something like that, they're probably going to do a new round of checks on you just to make sure nothing's changed.
That is correct. Going in the service, you have to pass and put in for a top secret clearance. So you get one out of the academy. And then if you're assessed into something like PPD, the president's detail or the vice president's detail, you then have to go on to get a further check for what's called top secret SCI, which is like secret compartmentalized information. It's like the top of the top that you can get for clearances. And there is nothing beyond that. SCI covers that. Like you're only read into, like at that point, you're read into things, meaning like there's a specific thing that you are needing to know, and you get read into that with in a SCIF or a security like package. And that's how that works. I was lucky enough with EOD. I had a TS SCI after I graduated EOD school, because like everybody that is EOD has to have one. And that's because like the entire database on our workbooks, which tells us everything we know about IEDs that has been accumulated from all Western forces in the history of the world, is in that thing. So, things about like Chinese arms that the Chinese don't know we know, and I always thought that was cool. So I had one. When my phase 2 time came, I'll back it up. My field office where I was in my phase 1, I had like a year where I was able to work cases, and I had the time of my life. I mean, we're talking like 2-hour lunches with the boys. We're fucking hitting the streets of one of the most, the top 3 highest homicide cities in the country. And we're making arrests, fucking high fives. It's fucking awesome. And then, then the fucking summer of love happens. The George Floyd thing takes place. And here's a story I think you'll appreciate. I'm still like relatively new to law enforcement, still relatively new to this city. And we get asked by the city, all federal agencies in the city get asked by the mayor to like help with the riots and the Antifa protests going on in the city. And we of course say yes. So we get dispatched, and my buddy and I are in a government car assigned to us. It's a surveillance vehicle. So it's like on an undercover car, but we're following an Antifa crowd as it's moving through the city. There's a gigantic parking garage in between where the crowd is and where we are. We're driving down the back road in the city, in the heart of the city, behind the parking garage, and dead ahead of us, the Antifa crowd like rounds the corner and they're taking up the entire back alley. So we're like, fuck, dude, we got to get out of here. Put the car in reverse, start to go backwards. Same thing. Antifa crowd rounds the corner and they're coming towards us. We're like, dude, I don't want to be in the car. Like, we've seen what happens when because we're in plate carriers and our cop identifiers. And I'm like, dude, we got to get out. So we abandon the car, lock it, go up into the parking garage and get to like the 3rd floor. And we look down as the Antifa crowd smashed every window in this GOV and lit it on fire. And we took videos on our phones and we were like fucking dying laughing. Like, dude, this is, this is like historic. This is what's going on in our country. This is fucking absurd. And, that I'll never forget that. That was like one of my first introductions to the life that I chose. Cause I was like, dude, imagine if we stayed in the car and we're like, fuck you, get back, and like fought with the crowd. Like, you know, it's a fucking dangerous situation, messy situation. But, you know, luckily we did that. It was crazy. I'm trying to think, like, in terms of phase 1, how it works is like, you're not on a detail yet, but every time.
Was that your first, introduction to just how volatile things were becoming?
Yes, it was, because I was raised in like the idyllic American suburb, and I was taught colorblind society, and I was taught treat everyone the way that you want to be treated, the golden rule. And then law enforcement, more so than the military, was one of the rudest awakenings that I had ever had, in terms of learning that there are people that you drive by every single day who do not live in the same world that you live in. And I hate to say that because I am an optimist, but that is the reality. There are people that you drive by on the highway and you have no fucking clue in your town, the people that you talk to, that have committed murders and have done violent assaults. And you have no fucking idea. Like, they are living among you, and like your world that you live in, which has laws and social norms, it does not apply to them. And that was like a real pain to learn, because I used to think that everyone was like me. They just had bad circumstances and situations. That's not the fucking truth. And any federal agent, any cop will tell you the same. Yeah, I mean, things happened in my city when I was there. A friend of mine during the Floyd riots was involved in an officer shooting. So he's an undercover cop, and he jumps out on some kids that were posting pictures of guns in the city, and he finds them. These kids were 15 years old. They jump out of their cars and go to arrest them, and they open fire on them, and they shoot and kill the kids. And that makes national news, because if you remember, at that time in America, after Floyd's death, every city across the country, like a week or two would go by and you get another story of an officer involved shooting of a person of color or a minority. And it tore the country apart for the most part. And it's frustrating because, you know, I know what happened. It was investigated. You know, they tried to hang him. They tried to fire him.
We'll caveat this with, there are some instances of genuine bad behavior by law enforcement, but for the most part, they're not. It's something that frustrates me so much that I understand why it needs to happen. But my mate shared with me a case of a cop here in Australia who just got found not guilty of assault during a shopping centre fight, where he literally had to go in and just start throwing people around, and he had to use violence. So he had to go face a court. And I replied to him and said, it always infuriates me when people in frontline roles are judged and held accountable by folks with no experience in that environment. I kind of get it, and I kind of understand that, you know, we need to make sure we don't descend into barbarianism, but you need to also understand that those people in those frontline roles are quite often they're thinking on their feet. And unless you're prepared to get them to the state where it is pure muscle memory, that they can make the best decision every single time. And then you've still got to remember what we said earlier, the best laid plans only last until the first bullet flies or the first punch or whatever. It's very hard to hold those people accountable to what you see as normal standards when they're quite literally at times fighting for what they believe is either their life or the life of people around them.
Yeah. And that's really all there is to it. I mean, to be honest, man, similar to you, like I'm getting older now, and I'm done with the qualifiers. Like I don't want to have to say that anymore to like address the issue. It's frustrating, especially in the wake of the Kirk shooting. Like that was a real pain in the balls. I met that fucking guy at a Trump event in Florida, shook his fucking hand, and you know, he's all over my social media feeds. So I've been like a fan, but I'm not like a fucking, like I wasn't like diehard fan, but watching him get murdered in the way that he did, fucking dude, it still frustrates me. I'm not over it.
I saw it. I can watch videos of almost anything. I've watched so much footage from Ukraine and some of the terrible things that have happened there. And my son showed me that video, and it was the first time I think I've had a visceral reaction that wasn't just clinical analysis of the situation. I was literally, like, my missus and my son were kind of surprised that I reacted the way I did. And I still don't fully understand why.
Yeah. It's frustrating, man. Like, I love my country. I've done what I've done for it because I believe in it. But it just, things are different now. Things are, I don't know a way forward exactly yet. I'm a little bit done with the pleasantries and trying to qualify myself with every explanation for the things that I've seen and my opinion on things. But that is the beauty of the country we live in, right? Like a person like Kirk, and he's no Martin Luther King, he's no JFK, but he's a major thought leader for the conservative side of the country, which is half of the fucking country. And people have to remember, like, the youth vote in America belonged to the Democrats for as long as I've been alive. Kirk is responsible for changing that. The youth vote went conservative for the last election for the first time in my lifetime. And he's like the primary person responsible for that. So it feels like the impact of his death, you know, it weighs heavy on young America. And young America will decide the future. And I think it's leaning a certain way right now. And I think it's the right way. I think Europe's the same way. So I'm hopeful and I'm optimistic. All things in politics specifically are cyclical.
It's a tough topic, but a saying that I've been hearing a lot lately is one that everyone needs to remember. You may not fuck with politics, but politics will fuck with you.
Amen. But I guess before we like delve into some of that shit, we need to go back. Just to land the plane, you know, phase one traveled a bunch with Trump, traveled a bunch with Biden. We got to know their families relatively well. One of the more fun stories I have for you is one that I thought hard about, and I'm pretty confident I can share in this. I've dealt with the spooks a couple of times, and when I say spooks, that's like the military and the law enforcement in America's way of referring to like the CIA, and the State Department and what they do. The second time I dealt with the spooks was like probably the most intimate time. I checked my pistol into a military C-17 aircraft like we're supposed to do, and then I took off for France with President Trump and his security detail. When we landed in France and the detail and the work began, I showed up for my first shift, my first assignment. We go digging into the box where my pistol was checked in, and it's gone. And I look at the guy responsible for the entire trip, and I says to him, "Hey, man, I don't want to make you nervous, but my fucking gun's gone, and we're in Europe, in a foreign country." And he's like, "You're fucking high. Like, where did you put your gun?" And I'm like, "Dude, I gave you my gun when I got on the plane." And he checks him into the box. Long story short, he can't find it. And then for the next 2 weeks, I check in with that guy daily about my firearm, seeing of where it is, where can we find it, and it's nowhere to be seen. I make it so that I'm the first one on the C-17 when we're departing, and every single person that boarded the plane, I says, "Hey, do you know where this pistol is? This is my pistol. Have you seen it? Like, blah, blah, blah. Do you have the right pistol?" Right before the plane takes off, I stand up in front of the entire aircraft full of dignitaries and important things, and I says, "Excuse me, I am Special Agent Frattinz. Has anyone seen my gun?" And I get yelled at by people in the back, "Shut the fuck up and sit down." But it's because I can't fucking, like, this is becoming a joke to me. I can't believe I'm about to leave a foreign country without my firearm. I'm going to go back to my field office and get my asshole ripped open because I don't have it. We land back in the States, and I do the same thing. I run to the ass end of the plane, and I'm like, you say the same thing. "Has anybody seen my gun? Has anybody seen my gun?" Nothing. Shut up. Get away from me. Blah, blah, blah. I walk back to my car. I'm the last car in the parking lot. I'm thinking to myself, I can't fucking believe this is happening. And I sit down in my GOV. I roll my window down because it was hot as fuck. And I'm playing music, punching my shit into my phone for the GPS. And this big black truck with tinted windows comes flying into the parking lot and pulls up like his driver's side window to my driver's side window. He puts his window down and he says, "Hey, are you Special Agent Frattinz?" And I'm like, "Yes." And then he throws my pistol in my lap and peels out and takes off. So I'm yelling at this guy out the window, and I have half a mind to like follow him, but I'm like, what the fuck just happened? What the fuck was that? Like, the agencies that we have in our country do things that lie to each other, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And that was the one time when I went, all right, I think there's a lot more going on. Like, who fucking knows how that guy got my pistol, what he did with it in Europe, and that shit, like, that shit bugged me, dude. And I thought that was fucking insane. I came back to my field office and told that story to my supervisors, and they made a couple phone calls, and every phone call they made was returned with like, "We have no idea what you're talking about. Like, there's nobody that we have on that trip or that we were working with that did it, that blah, blah, blah." There was just no answers.
That's fucking insane. That is absolutely fucking insane. Like, oh,
crazy, right?
Yeah, like you see, you'd be looking at that gun, just going, if you could talk, the
what
story you could probably tell me.
Yeah, like, what was it used for? What assignment did they do while I was there? And
did you tell the office, "This is not my gun anymore. I don't want to be associated with this gun. Get me a new one"?
Nah, I thought the story was fucking hilarious and kept it. Same serial number. I was like, this thing's got some juice left in it still. But it's one of those stories. Like, I do like to laugh about it. My buddies to this day, like, we'll still talk about it. How fucking crazy it was.
Glow boys. Oh, I love that you know the Glow reference, Rusty. I know that you know that. Old what's his name? Temple OS.
Yeah. Glow boys are everywhere.
Yeah.
Dude,
he was a very mentally disturbed man, that guy.
On the topic of spooks, I got one more story for you. This wasn't even Secret Service. This was when I was EOD. Because we have that TSSCI, even the guard guys that are EOD, not even the active duty guys, find themselves working for special forces on their missions and assignments. And my unit got deployed to Kenya, up by Archer's Post, towards the border of Somalia. I think it's Somalia. Because at the time, to the north.
Yeah, Somalia.
Yeah, because at the time, ISIS was like at its peak, and Al-Shabaab and Boko Haram had pledged allegiance to ISIS, and they were fucking up the Kenyan Defense Forces in Somalia. And we went there. It was a non-combat deployment, but we went there to build their first EOD school, which was fucking great. It was this cool honor. Beautiful country, beautiful people, lovely culture. Obviously, they're impoverished, different lifestyles, but fucking beautiful. India's a shithole, and everyone sucks there. Nothing redeeming about India. I will say that right now. All the places I've been. But
great food, mate. Great food. I love Indian food.
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't mind your asshole fucking screaming at the toilet. But that aside, we're there, and because we got the TSSCI and what we're doing, we're staying at this 5-star game lodge. So it's not like a fucking hotel.
TSSCI?
It's the top secret clearance with the secret compartmentalized information designator. We're at this 5-star game lodge. We get approached by, and what I mean the deployment was in a team rotation. So it was just 2 of us there at a time, and we rotated over the course of like a year and a half. I'm there. My buddy's there. It's the 2 of us. We get approached by these 2 guys in gray t-shirts, and they says to us, "Hey, we have like a very important like government Department of State contract mission going on at the Kenyan Defense School. Would you guys mind coming and helping like see it through?" And we're like, well, what are you asking like EOD guys for? And they're like, well, we'll explain when we get there. We can't tell you now. So my buddy and I jump in a van, get driven to this Kenyan Defense School, and we show up to the Kenyan version of the Rangers are out on this range, and they're shooting Barrett M107 sniper rifles at their sniper rifle range, qualifying on it. And come to find out, the guys we were talking to were spooks who were there with the president and vice president of Barrett, and they were selling sniper rifles to the Kenyans. And the reason they asked us to go there is because they wanted us to be an EOD asset, because they were shooting the explosive rounds out of the Barrett at landmines to high order them, to make them explode on the cliff. And that was fucking, dude, like the story is actually fucking insane. We had to they shot the high explosive rounds at all the Kenyan ammunition, but because it was so old and shit that none of them high ordered the way they were supposed to. And when I mean high order, like you shoot a fucking explosive round at a piece of ordnance, you expect it to blow up fully. They shot the explosive rounds at these pieces of ordnance and landmines on the side of this Kenyan cliff. And they just shattered the landmines. So we had to go up there in the red clay of Kenya on our hands and knees on the side of this cliff in, the 100-degree weather, and like make a pile of all of it and fucking blow it up using foreign munitions. It was fucking absurd. But like the spooks, man, like they have such a complex way of doing things where like we're there and we don't even know we're a part of their mission, and then they drag you into it. So shout out to them. All right, I'm sure I'm on some NSA watch list somewhere, but fuck those guys. All right.
Well, that actually brings me to a question that I had for you before we start delving into. We got a really good question from my mate Vigilante as well, Edward Snowden. What are your thoughts on him? Because that is a fascinating story. When you look into what he learned, why he chose to do what he did, the way he's been vilified, rightly in some aspects, wrongly in some aspects, in my opinion. But because that guy, he would have had probably a similar clearance to you. And he chose to essentially go rogue. And he was forced to basically flee to what is literally America's number 1/number 2 enemy, Russia, because there's a lot of people who want him dead. Yeah.
The snow, like knowing what I know now, I think what he did was heroic. I still am not positive that it was the right thing to do.
Yeah, that's pretty much. Yep.
Because I am very much a part of I want to know what the spooks are doing. And I think him outing the mass surveillance state thing was actually, saying it out loud now, him doing what he did, outing what the NSA and the CIA were doing in terms of mass surveillance on all of our communications, I think is the right thing to do. There's a lot that was released that I think was potentially harmful, but I think the news overly fabricated the extent to which it compromised American safety abroad. Because the news tried to say that he got guys exposed in foreign countries under covert situations, which isn't exactly the truth from what I understand. So, I mean, in retrospect now, I think what he did was the right thing. But I remember at the time when it happened, this was when I was young enough to not be involved with any of this shit. I thought he was a fucking traitor. But that's the power.
And I'm an Australian, and I thought that because I think that comes back to, though, that sense of loyalty to your country that a lot of more conservative-minded people have. You know, I
Yeah.
swore my oath to Queen and country, good old Queen Elizabeth, and I still respect that. And I still, you know, like I said, loose lips sink ships and all the rest of it. But the more I've looked into that over the years, I don't see what other option he had.
Yeah, I agree. But I think it was the right thing to do. I think it's also fucking incredible that under administrations from two different parties in my country, like, they have done everything in their power. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, what party, to, I don't know, disappear him. I guess. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So he's probably doing what he has to do. It's a tragedy. I hope he gets to come home at some point. I hope they fucking chill out.
Well, I'm kind of glad that Australia got Assange back. Again, I don't agree with a lot of what Assange thinks, but I don't think, I personally, and this is probably, I'm interested in your take on this. I don't think, I think we did the right thing in getting him here to Australia, because he's an Australian citizen, and he shouldn't be treated as a, what were they going to call him, a spy or something? No, he was not an American citizen.
Defector, or no?
Yeah, something like that. But I don't agree with a lot of what the guy does. You know, the mass dropping of documents pretty much unchecked. But at the same time, to
be honest with you, I'm actually not as familiar with the Julian Assange or Strange like story as I am with the Snowden one. So I can't give you any insight into that. I just don't know. I haven't read up on it. I know the name.
WikiLeaks. He just has that. He had that website where they could just drop mass documents. And again, in essence, I support the idea. The idea, but I think that there needs to be some checks and balances, because if you've got to verify this stuff, you've got to make sure that you're not putting anyone in danger needlessly. It's insane, but that's the world. And it's this. The other thing it's important to remember, folks, is this isn't just a recent phenomenon. You go back through history, governments will always do shit to fuck the people up. There's so much, and it's not just an American government thing either. You know, you look back to, I think it's called Porton Downs in the UK, some of the terrible things that the UK government have done to their own people. Communist governments are notorious for it. The Japanese government back in the day, and there's still shit happening to this day. So this is not a uniquely American problem, folks. It's something the world over. And governments are always looking, they're always so scared of what their populace is up to.
Amen. Well said.
So we'll get back on track now. Sean, I didn't get to see the joke. What was the joke you tried to post? But maybe if you recensor it, because I'm pretty much a no filter sort of person. I don't remove swear words or anything like that. If it's said, it's said. So be it. Provided it sticks within the guidelines. But I believe everything is fair game for comedy. Everything.
He DM'd me. He said he tried to put in chat that Frattinz sucks cock, which you can't prove. All right, I've got 3 kids. No one can call me anything other than straight. Okay. Okay. I'm not a virgin either. Okay. All right.
That's awesome. But okay. So you're now doing the personal protection stuff. You said you worked with 3 presidents, though.
Correct. I did a lot with President Trump. I did the majority of my Secret Service time with President Biden and his family. And then towards the end of my time, I was trying to get closer where I wanted to end up with my family. So I put in for the Clinton detail, and I worked a lot with President Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. And it is what you probably think in your mind, for everyone listening, what it's like to work with those different people. There's a lot, obviously, that I can't say, but the stuff that I will tell you is that Trump did this thing, like starting with Trump, where I know he doesn't know my name, right? He's a face guy, so he's got a business mind. He does this social thing, which I always thought was very intelligent, and why he's probably so successful, where he would see someone like me guarding a fucking dumpster in a hallway, and he'd walk up to me and be like, "Hey, good to see you again," shake my hand, and then just keep walking. That's all I need. That's all anybody needs that works for somebody like that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to sit there and fucking ask him questions. We're not supposed to do that. But I always thought that was a very smart social engineering thing to like instill confidence at that level. Like, I'm a pissant. This guy's the president of the country, and he has the common courtesy to shake my hand and just say, hey, good to see you again. Like, I know he doesn't know my name, but he probably recognizes my face. The other protectees, not necessarily the same experience. They're all perfectly lovely and kind at certain times when they wanted to be. President Biden offered to make me a cup of coffee once. I thought that was great and kind. But there's a lot of other things that happen where they could be cunts at times. And people in President Trump's family were terrible to the protectees. But there was also people that were great. I'm sure it's possible to catch them at a bad time, at a bad day, but the experience was always fun, like in my position, because like you never know what you're going to see or experience from them, and to like be a part of history in the sense where like say we're driving them somewhere one day, and they are obviously constantly on their phones because they got world leaders calling them and their advisors calling them, and you get to like hear something about Ukraine or something about Russia or some action that they want to take in the Middle East, and it felt cool to be a part of that and to hear that kind of shit. And I will say this, like President Clinton, probably one of the fucking coolest people that I have ever met. There's certain guys that get to that level. Bill Clinton.
Yep.
Like, he was charismatic in his old age, fucking the greatest speech giver that I have ever seen. Like, he would show up to places and just like give a speech off the top of his head that was like, that made me want to run through a brick wall and watch like The Patriot again. I don't think President Trump can do that or President Biden could do that. But the fucking old dog still got it. President Obama was the same way, just like super charismatic, walked into a room and like you didn't know he walked in, but you like felt his aura and you would like turn around and be like, Jesus Christ, that guy's the man. Super cool shit like that.
It was crazy seeing how gray he went over his time in the office. Like, I know graying is natural, but it just seemed like that job really fucking aged that man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. On that note, like, obviously the stress of the job will do that to you. And I think everybody realizes that it's true. But there was one time I took a former president to London, and I'll just say it was President Clinton. We were in London, and he really wanted to walk to, I think it was the Ritz Hotel from where we were staying, because he had a bunch of fond memories there, and that's where he used to stay when he was president. And he takes us, he goes on these walks. He's like a fucking owl. The guy sleeps like 2 or 3 hours a night. He's like, let's go for this walk to the Ritz Hotel. So we had no time to spin up the British police to assist us in this. So we took off with me and the other guy that was there working nights. And we're like walking through the streets of London, following this like wicked old man who doesn't know where he's going. And he ends up taking us in the absolute opposite direction of where the Ritz was. And we walk into like one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in London by accident, because we're following him, and we get to this neighborhood, and it's an ethnic neighborhood full of a bunch of like Middle Easterns people. They get up, they're initially like, holy crap, President Clinton, taking pictures, smiling, thank you, it's an honor to meet you, that kind of thing. But before we knew it, we were surrounded by like a mob. And now we're like, all right, we got to get the fuck out of here. So we make the call. We start to move him. And a guy comes running out of the crowd, ironically enough, with an American football jersey on. This Middle Eastern guy. He comes running up and he takes a swing at President Clinton. And I'm 6'5". I'm a tall guy. I'm a big guy. And I was doing my job trying to be on him. And I saw it and caught his punch and, shoved him into the crowd as best I could. And as he threw the punch, he screamed, infidels will never be safe in London, and throws his punch. And, I pushed him and he ran away into like a subway thing. And I remember putting his head down, his old legs, and being like, we got to go. And after that, it was just like, a blur, because you're just like pushing bodies and trying to get out, and the crowd changes. So that was one of the crazier protectee stories I've had. I mean, there's a time when like, has spanned
Did the crowd switch the vibe when that happened, or were they outraged at what they just witnessed someone do?
As I recall, once that guy did that, it's like they popped the lid on what they all wanted to do. So after that, all of them were yelling, screaming, shouting, trying to get close, trying to grab him with their hands. Nobody reached out to strike him after that, but a bunch of people were trying to, grab him with their hands. So I remember peeling hands off and throwing elbows and punches as we were trying to escort him out. But I remember around the time that we broke out of that is when the assets that we did call from, it's like London Metropolitan Police or something like that. They showed up and they were like, "Are you guys fucking stupid?" They were like, "Why are you taking him to this neighborhood?" And we're like, "Dude, we are following him. Like, that's how this works. We go where he goes, So I remember them being like, "You guys are out of your fucking minds." And I remember him being like, "Sorry guys, let's go back." Let's call it. Kind of a crazy night.
That's I kind of get the vibe that you were having as well. Like, we were talking before the show about our respective services, about getting a bit of a knowledge of each other, bit of knowledge of each other. And yes, get your bingo cards out, folks. Here it comes. When I was in Somalia, in the town of Baidoa, my platoon commander decided he wanted to go visit one of the other section outposts. At this stage, the various NGOs there had been employing, or prior to this, had been employing locals as guards. And as you can imagine, that didn't end very well for them after being having some of the female staff raped and robbed and killed and things like that. Yep. We eventually made an agreement with them where we would provide security for them, but they had to allow us to use those bases as areas where we could deploy out on patrols from. And they were starting to build a bit of trust in us, so they agreed to it. And so we had our platoon. We were out on the duty of being in the various stations throughout the city, and the platoon commander, in the middle of Ramadan, decided that he wanted to go check in on one of the other sections. And he was like, "Boy, grab the radio." And I was like, "Well, what's there?" And he goes, "Oh, we're going to go for a walk over and visit 8 section." And I was like, "Sir, it's night time and it's just me and you." And he goes, "Yeah, we'll be fine." And to this day, that is still one of the most traumatic events of my life, because there's something with this, and this isn't just an Islamic thing. This is mob mentality. When a mob is together, it's a scary fucking vibe, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, it is. It is the mob mind, the mob rule. And these are the irony is, like, these are all things that the service like trained us on, but it's a different story when it happens to you. My whole life learned things the hard way, and I'll just never forget that first encounter being like, all right, knowing what I know now, I would have been like, Mr. President, why don't you show me on your phone, like, where you want to go? Like, I would have stepped in and said something sooner, but I wasn't in a leadership position at that time. The other guy that I was with was, it was more his responsibility not to put it on him, but he didn't know any better either. It's just, these things happen. And thank God that guy didn't have a fucking knife, or something, because it is fucking London after all. But, all's well that ends well. It's insane. Like, in terms of story time, dude, the only other fucking thing that I'm able to say, one of the stories that happened, like, I took President Biden one time to meet President Zelensky in a major city in America. They met. There's a big press event, and they're walking down this old historic American building to have their meeting. And to get to the room where they're going to do the meeting is a long wooden hallway, giant arches, beautiful American colonial structure. And we're walking amongst the press. We're walking with Secret Service agents, staff, President Biden, President Zelensky, and Ukrainian Secret Service. And the Ukrainian Secret Service, brother, I could not have drawn like a cartoon better of like what these guys looked like. He looked like DayZ survivor, male survivor number 8. Like, he was the most Slavic looking son of a bitch I had ever seen. I'm talking.
Awesome. All he needed was an Adidas tracksuit.
Dude, I'm talking. He was wearing blue jeans and a leather jacket and earpiece in. And this guy and I had made eye contact earlier. You do this with all the other Secret Service counterparts for foreign leaders. You kind of give like a nod to each other out of like respect. It's a thing. It's like taught. And me and this guy are like of equal stature, equal size. And we do the nod. And I remember being like, this guy's cool shit. I just gave a nod to this guy's sweet. We're walking to the room, and an American press guy is doing what American press does, which is they push the boundary as far as they can go until they're told not to or told to stop. The Ukrainian Secret Service does not follow the same rules that we do when it comes to press. So this press guy, as we're walking down this hallway and all these cameras are happening, is moving too close to President Biden and President Zelensky. And I can see the Ukrainian Secret Service guy getting nervous, getting anxious, but we don't speak the same language. There's nothing I can say to the guy, and I'm not going to start speaking while these two guys are speaking in front of us. Anyway, long story short, the press guy gets too close and makes a move towards Zelensky. The Ukrainian guy puts him in a headlock as we're walking. And I know that this is a bad look. Part of our job with the Secret Service isn't just to protect these people. It's also literally in the statutes. It's called preventing risk of unwanted outcome. And what that means is like preventing embarrassment at the national stage. So I basically, I jumped on the Ukrainian guy. I put him in a headlock. So there's 3 people in a human centipede of headlocks. And I pulled all of them through the rope and stanchions on the side of the hallway. There's like rope and stanchions where like staff and telecommunications people can move behind giant tarps without being seen. I pulled them through a slit and in the dark, in like a 3-foot hallway, I wrestled with a press guy and a Ukrainian Secret Service guy until the dust settled and he realized who I was and what I was trying to convey to him, like to relax. And we both stood up, dusted ourselves off, shook hands, and then rejoined.
And how was the journalist after this?
He was a dork. He was a little fucking idiot, and he was fucking whining and screaming. As soon as like he got free, he left, and I wrestled with him. I mean, it felt like 20 minutes, but I'm sure it couldn't have been longer than 2 or 3 minutes in the dark in this hallway, both of us with our guns on, and it was fucking wild. But those are the kind of things that like will happen in your career if you on a long enough timeline.
Were you playing DayZ at this stage in your life?
Oh, I was. I used to, my friends refer to it as the travel box. I used to pack up my Xbox and bring it with me and play when I could in the hotel rooms. Because part of what made the service so fun was that, you know, for an assignment overseas, you would go there, but you would have like 2 or 3 days on the front end of the trip or 2 or 3 days on the back end of the trip where the protectee wasn't there at all. And it was bliss because you're staying in like the most beautiful hotels in the world, in the most beautiful places in the world. And you and your buddies from work just get to go out and hit the bars, hit the restaurants, and have like the fucking time of your life on like the government's dime. And that I will miss because the adventures and the shit we got into, I would love to tell you guys about. Like if you thought the things that I've told you today were nuts, like you have no fucking idea of the things that we've done and seen. And I
paperwork stuff, the stuff that would reveal too much about you.
Yeah, I fried an Xbox in London. Been to London a million times. I fried an Xbox in London because I didn't understand the difference in the Euro power outage or wattage or whatever. So I bought an adapter, plugged it in, and I'm telling you, my Xbox smoked. It was pissing smoke out of it, and I killed it. I never forgot that lesson. Yeah.
So you then, what made you leave the Secret Service?
My wife. I
figured it'd be family.
Yeah, it's just one of those jobs where we had my son at the time, and then we had my daughter, and I was gone so much traveling that, you know, even if my wife was like Superwoman and would handle the stuff at home, it's not the life that I wanted. Like I wanted to be around and take him to football and that kind of thing. So we put in for a different agency and got it, and haven't looked back. And you know, there's parts about it that I miss for sure, but definitely the right move in retrospect.
It's good that you realize that, because I see it a lot with a lot of guys from just the general army sort of way of life, and it
was the same
kind of
thing.
Sad, but those sorts of jobs, they don't make for, in many cases, good family men.
No.
You're a good man, but you're just not a good family man, because those jobs can become all encompassing, all consuming. They take up so much of your life. And they really do at times. You know, I imagine with a job like yours, it was hard to make your family the priority. when you're literally dealing with the lives of presidents and things like that. Those jobs, there's that joke, I think, from I think it's Hamburger Hill, where they ask Clint Eastwood's character why he doesn't have a wife, and he goes, "They would have issued me with one if the army wanted me to have one." Yeah. Because it is, and it also changes your mindset. Like so many guys, when they get out, they're never the same because there's that old saying, I can't remember who it's attributed to. I think it's a famous author, but those who have hunted men will never forget that thrill. And there's a different mindset, and to step away from that, it's a big thing. But your family should always be your number one priority. It's why you believe in your country. It's why you believe in your government. It's why you believe in law and order. It's so that you can have a safe place for you and your family. And a lot of men, in particular, do forget that is why we do what we do, for your wife, for your kids, for your fellow citizen.
Yeah, it's as simple as that, man. That is, I could not have said it better.
It's a hard lesson to learn though, because it's you constantly, like, I'm 52 now, busted. I've had a stroke, or not a stroke, a TIA, a mini stroke. My wife's just had a double cardiac arrest earlier this year. My fucking dog had a seizure on me yesterday. So as you get older, you're not as capable, but there's still that part of you that is always longing for that. There's a certain simplicity to jobs like that, as complex as they are. But you weren't motivated by the all-consuming greed for the dollar. You were motivated by what I personally saw as a higher cause, your fellow man, your country. And it's so hard when you get a family to. I was lucky. I did all my time until the end when I met my missus. But all of my time, I was pretty much a single guy, bar a few girlfriends here and there. So it was easy for me to be dedicated to the army. I couldn't imagine doing it as a family man. It must have been hard on you.
Yeah, it was. And shout out to everybody that's going to listen to this or is listening to this that has spouses that are dealing with that, because we understand
unsung heroes.
We understand how difficult that is, and that is the reality of the situation. You need to have somebody who is on board with that kind of a lifestyle to go all the way for that as a career for you, or you have to make decisions. And I made some decisions. And
how do you fit DayZ into that lifestyle, though, brother? The job, the family.
I don't have an answer for that. I have a couple of rules. Like, I don't play when the kids are home, because I have friends, and I won't disparage them, but I always thought it was inappropriate when I was playing with someone and a little kid would come running in the room and they're like, "Get out of here!" That always was sick to me. I don't play when they're home, and I only play when they're sleeping or if they're at daycare, which now that I'm getting older is less and less. So, I play when I can, given work and the life schedule. And that's my recommendation, because you do have to focus on your priorities. Otherwise, you will eat yourself alive. Like, the foundation to having a stable life is like being stable yourself. And that's not self-help shit. Like, self-improvement is masturbation, or go pick up Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Like, it's the only two things that'll help you as a guy, because nobody gives a shit if you're complaining. And that's just the world that we live in. And that's how it should be. Like, this is the burden. This is the price of being a man. But I don't want to get too philosophical on these things.
No, man, I love that shit. I love that shit. Get as philosophical as you want.
Yeah. I found in my darkest holes in the army, in life, in law enforcement, I would just read Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. And for those of you guys that aren't aware, it's just a book that was a journal written by Marcus Aurelius, the Emperor of Rome, in ancient times. And it was
you're doing the meme, you realize.
Is it a meme?
That men think about Rome all the time.
My wife did that to me. One day she was like, "Hey, how often do you think about Rome?" And I was like, "Pretty fucking often." And she starts dying laughing. But it's true, man. I found a lot of relief in that stuff. I found it to be true because that it mirrored what I always thought of the world, and it just it helped me kind of put things in perspective. People give stoicism a bad rep because they think it's like they think it's just about like stuffing your emotions down. Yeah, they think it's about like stuffing your emotions down and that kind of thing. It's not. It's just about like addressing things you can control and things you can't, and like moving on. But I found it to be beautiful, and that's how I got through it. You know,
we're getting into something that I do love talking about, and that's partly why I'm doing this series and moved away from the DayZ podcast. But one of the things that concerns me at the most is the lack of positive male role models in the world. And that there are far too many, whether they be an Andrew Tate on the right or a Hassan Abi on the left. There are far too many bad male role models out there, and we need more, more middle of the road people who aren't going for extreme clickbait / rage bait takes on stuff, and just be a good man. And it's one of the things that's frustrated me the most over the change that we've seen in the West of late is this. I despise the word toxic masculinity. I fucking despise it. It is a pet hate of mine. And that, yes, there are some men who are toxic in nature, and I firmly believe both of those two that I just mentioned are kind of like extreme examples of it. But there is nothing wrong with being a strong male. And a strong male doesn't mean you have to be 6'5" in your case, 6'3" in my case, able to throw hands, all the rest of it. It just means about there are times in society where men need to step up. And we've been so emasculated of late that the social fabric of society is torn apart in that men don't know when they should step up. Like last night when I was sitting at the vet, it was an emergency after hours vet, and we were waiting to get my boy Max, who's still nice and he's so tired, the poor guy. Seizure's really taken out of you. But two young guys, I reckon they would have been in their 19 or so, came in. And they'd found two stray dogs, and both of them looked like they couldn't fight their way out of a wet paper bag. Skinny little boys, barely, 5'8", 5'9", but they picked these two dogs up that they found on the side of the road, probably 20 kilometers away, and they drove all the way to an after-hours vet to take them there to make sure that they were looked after. And there were a few people in the foyer when the nurse took them, and I made a point of telling them that what they did was a good thing. And I was like, good on you, boys. That's a really nice thing that you did. And
Amen.
It might not have meant anything. I wish more people had said something to them, but I felt it was my place to just say to them, I see you and I respect what you did. That is a manly thing to do. They could have just ignored those dogs and driven on by. But no, they took the time to grab these two beautiful little pups that were in a pretty bad way. It looked like they'd been badly mistreated, or maybe been running for a while because matted fur and looked quite dirty and all the rest of it. But something good in them. And if we don't call out when men do good things like that, and not just men, but also women, when women do good things, but I'm focusing on one side of it. But how are these kids meant to learn? How are they meant to know, and you reward them. And all it took was just a few words, from an older guy sitting there, just well done, lads. Really, really good work doing that.
I think that is fucking vitally important to building up young men, like especially if you see them out in the world and out in the wild doing that kind of thing. I think that is critical. I think it's good to ride them. If there's a community and there's like for my son's case, a football team and kids are acting out and being weird, it's okay to step in and correct the boys. And like, if you're a coach or whatever, and to be hard on them and to expect good things from them.
Yes.
That is one of the things that I had, that I was fortunate enough to have. Like, my parents expected good things from me. They expected, and I wanted to meet those things to make them make them proud. So it comes back to like a family unit. And if everybody could just focus on themselves and their families, I think outwards comes a great community, a great state, a great country. And that's what I think everyone's got to focus on, I guess.
Well, it kind of brings us to something that you touched on, which I think would be remiss of us if we didn't talk about, but what happened just recently with Charlie Kirk, and how crazy the reaction has been. And I'm not even liking the reaction from those on the right at the moment, the cancel culture reverse. And I get where they're coming from. They had it so long, but I don't believe Jimmy Kimmel should have been cancelled for what he said. I don't agree with what he said, but I don't like the pressure that was placed on. And I've seen people try to justify it by, well, it was a corporate decision, all the rest of it. Yeah, but it was a bad one. That I just watched Andrew Schultz did a video on it, and he's horrified by what happened. And he's as right wing as they come when it comes to his comedy, but he's not right wing. But it's just so divisive at the moment, mate.
Yeah, that's unfortunately the world that we live in America. Like the fucking media, man, it'll make everyone go insane. And I mean, I'm telling you this from the Secret Service perspective, where like I've done events for Obama and Biden, and I've seen the worst that the right-wing agitators have to offer. And then I've done events for Trump, and I've seen the worst that the left-wing side has to offer. And it's like these people live on the internet, so they think like the world works like that when it really doesn't, and Kirk is
That's
a really
common
tragic
thing with these shooters, though, is that regardless of their ideology, I think it was Bill Maher in his thing was talking about I watched his take on it all, and he was like, everyone's so viciously trying to assign a side, and I've been guilty of this as well, because I'm human and I my emotions get the better of me at times. But he said, can we all just agree that these people all belong on one side, and that's fucking psychotic? Whether you go back to Brenton Tarrant, what he did in the mosques in Christchurch in New Zealand, or you go to Anders Breivik in Norway, or I think it was Norway, where he shot up the kids on that island. They're all fucking loser, liar, loner fucking psychos who become so embedded in whether it be 4chan or fucking some sort of degeneracy. And those things in small doses are okay, for shits and giggles and all the rest of it. But people are just getting so far down these rabbit holes. And I attribute a lot of this to the downfall of society and degeneracy and all the rest of it. These men in particular who are more prone to these sorts of violent crimes and atrocities, they just end up in these echo chambers and self-reinforcing bubbles where this idiocy starts to become normal. Like, this is right, and I should do this.
Yeah. There's a lot of weird shit going on in the country right now, especially like internet culture. There's apparently this kid was radicalized on Discord. There's same with the Christchurch shooter in Minneapolis recently in the States, where like apparently the Christchurch shooter was involved in a Discord where like the users in the Discord were pushing each other to do more and more violent, more and more extreme things to see results, and that would get you clout.
And look, that's a classic male trait. Like on a more lesser scale. Like you would have remembered your time at college. You would have remembered your time in the military. Yeah, men are notorious for doing that. Like, I bet you won't. I bet you won't. And usually it's just silly, stupid stuff. But when you get trapped into an ideology, that's when it becomes fucking scary, man.
Yeah. And I mean, look, I hate to get too political on these things. In my opinion, if you reinforce like leveraging positive male masculinity traits in the right way, you can avoid these kinds of hazards. Like imagine all those guys that are sitting angry and fucking miserable in those kind of weirdo discords in 4chan. Like imagine them involved in their fucking pee-wee hockey, pee-wee baseball team, their Boy Scouts, whatever. I think it goes entirely different. Like if you get those guys leveraging their worst instincts for like a positive way, it's how like capitalism works, man. Like you leverage human greed to create things like the fucking toilet and the internet. Like take those worst natures of ourselves but leverage them towards like positive means, and you just don't have this problem. But as long as we have a media that is pushing bullshit wildly, serving one side or the other that isn't like neutral, and as long as you have an internet that is mitigated and allows for that kind of thing, this will be the reality we live in. As long as in America, we live in a country that has the Second Amendment, conservatives need to acknowledge that there will be atrocities committed. It's to be expected. This is the world we live in now. It's
Charlie Kirk, everyone's been sharing that clip of what he said about that, that sadly, a certain amount of deaths to gun violence is a price we have to pay for the Second Amendment. And
it's correct, man. It's a tragedy.
Sadly, that came back to, he was one of those victims.
Yeah, it's true. And, he died. I'd like to think that if he knew what would happen to him, he would have gone and done it anyway. I do believe that. I think he was that kind of hardcore guy. It's just important to remember that, like, in the free world that we live in, if you're lucky enough to have internet access and to be sitting here talking about DayZ and Discord stuff, like, there are people that thought it was worth it to die to prove a point. And I think that's why we have free speech in the Western world. I think that's why we have gun rights in America. But that price is heavy, and it is what it is.
Human nature, mate. Something happened yesterday that, again, talking about with my dog. After he had his stroke, his seizure, his entire personality shifted for about 15 minutes. My dog is the most soft, gentle, loving, non-violent dog you have ever seen. I've never seen him once in the 3 years that I've had him be violent in any way, shape, or form. The most he will do is play fight with his half brother. Yesterday, after his seizure, he went into, I remember the term, but again, I've got the memory of a goldfish, but he went into confusion. And his base emotion was aggression. He was scared, he was confused, and he went aggressive. And his bark changed, his mannerisms changed, like to the point where I was actually a little bit scared, not because I thought he could hurt me, but because he would bite me, and I didn't want to have to hurt him to get him off of me. But I was actually scared. He went up to the missus. She came out, and even this is after he'd finally come back and returned to normal Max. But even she said, "Okay, Max, you're kind of scaring me a little bit right now," because he was literally at the window doing a Cujo at one stage. And this is a core emotion that is just embedded in the psyche of animals. And we are, at the end of the day, animals. And when you start to lose the ability to think rationally, in his case, it was because of a medical episode, people default. We default to those fight or flight instincts. And depending on how valuable or how trained or how lack of reason you have, you start to go towards those. And when you feel that your very existence is threatened, a lot of people are going to turn to fight. And that's what's happening. These people are losing their ability to think rationally and thinking that fighting is their only option.
Yeah. And I will say this, I think I mentioned it before, but these things bother me, man. And I don't want to, it weighs on me. The things that I've seen in the service bothered me. It changed me. My family's always been political. I don't know if you know what NPR is, but it's the National Public Radio. My mother used to pick me up from school, and it would be on all day long on the car ride back. So I've always been into politics. And then getting in the service, I was like, holy shit. Like, what the fuck are we doing to our country? All I will say is, like, if you're looking for optimism and hope out of the state of things right now in our country, like, it is there. Look at Gen Z. Gen Z is moving in a direction that I personally agree with ethically and morally. And I think that this will have...
When they're not shitposting on 4chan.
Right, when they're not TikTok videos and fucking, you know what I mean? Generally, at least the men, like, are leaning towards the right way to go. I think you focus...
Hard times create hard men. I think we're seeing a generation of hard men being created. And it's going to be interesting to see how they turn out when they have, things like, I just watched a video talking about what was it, the DoorDash culture, and just how easily everything is, at your fingertips to be a degenerate, to sit at home and just order DoorDash, to OnlyFans and all the rest of that sort of stuff. But we're seeing a lot of bucking of that trend. A a lot of guys who are rejecting that degeneracy, and sadly for me, and this
rejecting the general nihilism that seems to be breeding and brewing all over the world, especially in America. There's this like nihilistic black pill take on things with our country. It's fucking disgusting. Don't fall for it. Don't buy into it, because like you have no fucking clue like the gift you have being in a place like this. That's another thing like the Army did for me. Like I went over to Africa, then to India. Like there's motherfuckers there that like don't have toilet paper. So like shut up. Like fucking grow up.
I've had people go off at me when I've sat there and gone, what are you complaining about with Australia as an example? What are you complaining about in this country? You are so fucking privileged to think that you are oppressed here in this country, when I've seen a third world, I've seen below third world. I've seen a country that is literally in fucking anarchy, with warlords fucking raping and pillaging their way through the fucking through
literally.
And you think that it's fucking, you're living in an evil country here, you know? It infuriates me. It really fucking infuriates me. It's like, what do they call it? The oppression Olympics. I'm so fucking victimized. No, you're fucking not. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. I think we're finally graduating from that in America, but it took a long time and it was miserable to go through it. It was during the peak of COVID too, where everyone was just trapped inside with nothing but their phones. It was dangerous. I'm glad to be out of it.
That was a terrible fucking time, mate. That really affected Gen Z. I felt so sorry for them. Their school years. My son was at university when that happened. His year during the first year of that was terrible, because it just fucked them. We're social creatures by nature, and to be forced down into lockdown, so the way it was, and thankfully I was in one of the states that wasn't as bad. Victoria's the one. When you hear the bad stories about Australia, that was Victoria. They went full fucking retard, mate. They went full fucking retard with authoritarianism, mate. It was disgusting.
Dude, I did see a little bit about that. On the Australia note, I did want to bring this up.
Go for it.
All the travels I've done, I've never been to Australia, but I've been to Europe a bunch, and I swear to God, like 4 or 5 times, I would run into like a group of Australians that were traveling on vacation or holiday, whatever you guys call it. And Australians are my favorite people on the globe. Like I can say that with confidence. Like I love America, I love my country, but Australians are like their culture, like the friendliness, the openness, the comedy. Like Australians are dude. If you're looking to have a good time at a bar or a pub, find some Australians. Like they will have the Australians. They can't go to a pub and not like have a fucking great time. And I have so many stories and memories of like running into a group of Australians at some fucking hole in the wall in the world, and then like having the night of my life. And I'm dying to get over to your side of the world at some point, take the wife there, do a vacation, because I know it'll be a fucking blast.
Australia is, I'm biased obviously, but we're generally a very laid-back bunch of people. The only state, and I do not like Victoria, in particular Melbourne. Melbourne is, I would compare it to maybe it's your version of California. They've just gone full fucking woke with their retardation levels, and they're so up themselves. They've got a chip on their shoulder that they're not the capital. That everyone, most people know Melbourne, but you couldn't name you couldn't name a single iconic thing from Melbourne, most people. But you talk about Sydney, people could name 2 straight away. They can name Sydney Opera House and the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Melbourne's got nothing other than a bunch of fucking entitled people who think that they're better than everyone else. I do not like Melbourne. That's a generalization. There are some great Victorian people I know. Shut up, you dog. But yeah, it's for the general part though, Australians, we are, they like to say that we're racist and all the rest of it. No, we're just like the rest of them. We want controlled immigration. We want to try and keep our values as much as possible. We love other cultures. We embrace them. We've got a fucking foreign person in the chat there, Sin. He's one of those Kiwis who fucking migrated over here that we still haven't worked out how to send back where they came from. I love Sim. He's a good bloke. I did an episode with him as well, Steady Your Nerve. He's got a great life story as well.
Okay. All right. I remember now.
That's the guy. Yeah, he's a fucking legend.
Shout
California holds me hostage.
That's so funny.
But
Rest
yeah,
in
you know,
peace.
we love traveling, and we're not as obnoxious as Americans when they're overseas. We're a bunch of footy hooligans. That's the other thing with Melbourne. That's the other thing with Melbourne. They've got their code of football is it's like you Americans, but it's a state that's obsessed with a form of football that no one else really plays, and that's Australian rules football.
That's
you
awesome.
guys are obsessed with NFL, but no one else in the world plays NFL. But
Right.
I do know that Canada plays it a little bit. We have it here in Australia. There's gridiron is what I think they call it, but it's played a bit here, but no one knows it. I couldn't name even a local team. But yeah, AFL though, it's an amazing game. Like if you've ever watched videos of it, but it's just never taken on a global scale. The closest to it is Gaelic football in Ireland. And every year they have an Australia versus Ireland and they play Gaelic football, but no one else knows about it. So that's another reason they've got a chip on their shoulder.
No, I get it, man. I get it. It's funny, like the pockets of culture that develop around the world. But shout out Infected Noob, awesome DayZ console streamer for the console guys. Like this reminds me of a point that I did want to make on the pod. Like, you know, I came up in this scene watching Minder, Sour Sweet, TRMZ, Toprek, fucking Lottie, Holly Rex, all these people, and they're fucking awesome. They're like a great time, but it's PC. Like I always wanted as a console player to have like a console guy to root for, and we have some. I think the biggest in the scene right now is probably Haringas on YouTube.
Greedy Peasant as well. He was in the chat earlier.
Yep.
That's the podcast, DayZ podcast console or DayZ console. I should know the name of it. I'm dumb.
The Greedy Peasant podcast. He is like, guy. You talk a lot with Lemons, Project Lemons before.
Yep. He used to be a co-host with me on the podcast when he attended.
Lemons, Greedy Peasant, like staples of the console community, and what those guys do. Yep, fucking huge, and they need like more praise and attention and shout outs, just like you do, frankly. But I want desperately on the console scene to develop what you guys have on the PC side, but on the console side, we have many limitations that the PC bros don't have. Like, I think one of the coolest things that you guys can do is for the community events, host those like Kings of the Castle raid event or the Battle Royale type thing. Those are fucking cool and fun. We simply can't do that on console. We don't have like admins who can moderate it and float around with a third person perspective camera and like watch everybody to shoutcast it or to host it. We don't have that.
Why did you pick DayZ as your game to immerse yourself in though? Because you talked about you were playing this game when you were still in the Secret Service. You're playing the game in your current role with whatever agency you're with. I'm not asking. We don't want to talk about that. But it's a fucking hard game for a family man and a man with a full who's not an unemployed person like myself on a military pension with bucket loads of hours. What made you pick DayZ, brother?
Listen, this is why I'm here for the hard questions. That is a great question, and the point is like you are correct. Playing DayZ is not like playing Fortnite or Call of Duty where you and your buddies can jump on, run a couple games, and log off. Like you live on a server, you die on a server. You invest time in the server. It is what it is. I think I was drawn to this game because of the hardcore nature of it. I've always been a zombie movie guy. I love zombie movies. Shout out Howie. We've seen every zombie movie that was ever made. The zombie genre is incredible. I love hardcore survival. Games or movies or themes. Like I love that part of the military, my time in the infantry. I love like land navigation, all that shit, foraging, crafting, bushcraft skills, that kind of thing. But what drew me to DayZ and really put the hooks in was the concept of the one life experience.
Yeah.
Meaning like I loved the concept of leaving the coast, spending hours, if not 20, 30 minutes of your time with your boys, making it to a location, and then if one of you dies, the fucking night's over, boys. Like, you can't play with us anymore because it's going to take you too long to catch up, and we have an objective to do. And that weight, that fear, that gear fear of dying made the combat situation in the game, the PvP situation, frankly, like the closest thing to real combat and real fights that I've been in my time in the military and law enforcement. And I just keep coming back. It's just too fucking good, too exciting. I could go on, and I will, if you indulge me. That's why I got drawn to it.
Just quickly, I'm doing some giveaways now, folks. First in, best dressed. There's 8 games. We've got Grapple Dog. We've got Warhammer 40,000 Speed Freaks. We've got Eastern Exorcist. We've got Return to Monkey Island. We've got Spellforce Conquest of EO. The Plucky Squire. Destiny 2 Legacy Collection. Customers must download the free edition of Destiny 2 on Steam in order to redeem the keys for expansion. We've got W2K25, so the WWE game. So yeah, first code just in. I'm going to be dropping them in chat. Let me know if you get that code. Just give us a thanks. These are all for free and courtesy of Humble Bundle. Had a link in there before. Definitely check them out. They do some great games for free. But yeah, have fun with whatever games you get, folks. Now, go for it.
Beautiful. No, but that's it, man. That's all there is to it. Like I actually on my YouTube channel made a YouTube short of the moment that I actually got addicted to DayZ. My buddies and I, still new to the game, had no fucking idea what alts were, no idea what duping was. Pushed into Vibor and we're chasing shots, and we found 3 pink armbands in a shed. I pushed it. I killed all 3 of them solo, and we had end game loot sitting at us in Vibor, which wasn't Tizzy, right? Like we thought it blew us away. And that is on my YouTube somewhere. You can find that fight, that scrap. And I just haven't been able to put the game down since. And fast forward a couple of years later, like I can't stop getting involved with the scene. I'm trying to watch all the stuff Greedy Peasant puts out, trying to watch all the stuff you put out, DC Podcast, 87.8. Just trying to stay involved, because like this is the stuff I put on in my car when I'm driving or when I was with the Secret Service, just to stay involved, because I'm such a fan of this. And I don't want to see it grow on console, because I know for a fact, knowing what I know now, like console does not get the love that it deserves. And I'm here to change that.
It definitely doesn't. It definitely doesn't. I created a gift link for this one. Okay, one second. Nice. Hopefully that works. Yeah, do a shout out in chat, guys. Let us know what games you got. Yeah, there's a lot of money in this month's games. Nice. The Destiny 2 and WWE. I think that was an $89. Andrano got the Warhammer one. Many thanks. Congratulations, buddy. Enjoy. This is just something I like to do. I pay for it. I don't think I've ever redeemed one of the games myself. It's just, going back to positive things you can do. This only cost me like $29 or $30 a month. And I get 8 free games that I get to give away however I like. Sometimes I do it in the Discord. Sometimes I do it in the interviews as I'm doing them. And I really enjoyed doing it with the Age of Vanilla guys. And I thought, we'll do it again. But I don't like to advertise it, because I like to just reward the people who are actually here. Because if I spam out that I'm going to be giving giveaways, I'm going to end up with a bunch of people who don't fucking want to be here and listen to 2 fuckwits talk for 2 hours about random shit. I'd much rather reward the good eggs who are here being good eggs.
That's awesome.
So, what made you want to become a content creator for DayZ, other than trying to push the Xbox side of it? But again, brother, you're doing it fucking hard mode. Stephen, thank you, mate. I love Irish dudes. You talk about great people on the piss. Irish people are fucking awesome on the piss as well, when you can understand them. fuck me. The thick accents from fucking Ireland, mate. I just sit there going, okay.
Shout out. That's awesome. That is awesome. Thanks, Stephen.
They've just got one of those accents that it makes you smile just to listen to, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, big time.
I love fucking Irish people. Got a little bit of Irish in me as well, but yeah. But no, you're doing it hard mode. You got a family, you've got a professional career, and you picked a game that, unless you get on for a minimum of 30 minutes, and a 30-minute session in DayZ is shit.
Nothing.
Yeah, you need hours, and then to create content as well.
Yeah, I started doing this because I started streaming just so my friends and I could save clips easier, and send them to each other. But then over time, I started to realize because that's what I was doing, like on YouTube when I was sitting in a car with the Secret Service for like hours on end trying to find stuff to like stay entertained. I would try my best to find console guys to watch, and the reality of the situation is like there wasn't much that I was into. And of the console stuff that existed, and I really don't mean to disparage these guys, it's just not the kind of DayZ that I want to, like I enjoy or I want to promote or I want to do. The console scene competitively, because I am a PvP guy, even though I pretend to be like a fucking TRMZ like player, I am a PvP guy at heart. The console scene competitively is just like Cronus's and Zims, beaming people, third-person perspective, which I hate and detest for a hardcore survival game. I just didn't like what was out there. And I thought to myself, dude, the raids and the servers I play on, the fights I get in, the adventures that I get in are of a higher quality than what I was seeing on console. And that's more or less the reason why I decided to start doing what I'm doing. And I am incredibly proud of like the stuff I've made, and fighting the YouTube algorithm is what it is. I've done all the extracurricular things I can think of to grow. I got involved with KarmaKrew, which I think has done a lot for me, but it's still not, where I would like to be. Trying to get involved in like
their console expansion going?
Fucking money, man. But it is funny because we push the envelope for as far as we can go. No one knows better than Project Lemons what console can do, but we have been able to do things and create things that have never been seen before on Console DayZ. One being the alt bot. Like our alt bot actually works. Before, if you played on console, played in a community server that was competitive, and you got banned, you could just make an alt Discord, and you're back in. No one would ever know.
I've got a guy coming on soon, Kamikaze, and he's got one as well. He said he's just reached 1 million players for his alt database, and this was thanks to something that BI and the consoles had to do, but you can now identify the actual specific machine, and basically, it's very cool how they do it.
It's as simple as that.
It was brilliant because I've got a video on it, and some of them were so fucking brazen. They don't care that they're ruining other people's experience. It's such a selfish attitude. And DayZ, it's to think one of the things I love about DayZ is what we'll talk about before, that about being a good member of a community. I just did a post in the Age of Vanilla Discord where the guys were all talking about something, and I shared a lesson I learned. And a great video that sadly doesn't have anywhere near the views it should. I'm going to share it here, but it was talking about how, just like in society, you've got to think of the effect that what you do will have on everyone else. And there's nothing worse than joining a server where there's a dominant faction, and all they do is just fuck over everyone. Everyone else pretty quickly starts to go, this just isn't fucking fun. I'm just not going to fucking play anymore because these people are just fucking dominating. And this was a video, an event that we held. And I said, it's a hard lesson to learn. DayZ is a brutal game. You invest so much into your character, base, etc. To lose it all, I understand why some people are reluctant to do online raids. And I said, it's why I always try to remind folks that doing an online raid, as risky as it is compared to those sneaky, fucking dirty offline raids, it's so much more rewarding. A few years back, me and some mates planned the most insane raid. It went completely pear-shaped, but to be honest, that's what made it so fucking memorable. Because the memories that we got from it. We did it during peak player hours. I think from memory, it was a Saturday night at like 8, 9, 10 p.m. So, usually the most popular gaming night. I got a Zerg army together. There was like about 20 of us. And we got counted while we were doing the raid. We died. It was on the Banov map. And you probably don't know Banov that well, being a console peasant.
Right.
I had to get one in there. But it has 2 of those Novi towers, the big clock towers. One is up in the top left, the other one is down the bottom right. And we drove from one side of the map in this massive convoy with 2 V3Ss. So we weren't all in gunters, just flying along. We were slow, only as fast as the slowest vehicle. And we drove the entire way. We did have a few guys on the ground there already. We weren't complete fucking retards about it. But bro, we got lost. We had cars break down. We even had the coolest JFK fucking moment that's in this video that I'm about to share in chat. Please go watch it and leave a comment, because my mate Prestige put a lot of heart and soul into this video. But he tells the full story from early on, when we were just running and we didn't even know the map that well. And we're like, hey, that's a tower like we built in. This is awesome. Because we've been wondering what we were going to do. And we did this to try to create a dynamic, organic event for everyone. We didn't tell them that it was coming. We didn't even know who was in this tower, to be honest. We just saw the tower and went, that's it. There could be only one. That's going to be our philosophy. There could be only one tower.
Highlander.
We're going to raid this one. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And bro, it was so much fun. So much fun. And it was a complete and utter clusterfuck. Going back to what you were talking about with the after the bombing event with the Boston shooters, you get so many people, comms is a nightmare, and it was. We even had a fucking truck somehow despawn on us. We don't know what the fuck happened to this truck.
Wild.
But it was just an absolute shit fight of an event, but so much fun. And I like to think that we did something positive, and sadly it turned into a bit of a shit fight. People took it the wrong way. Maybe that was my fault for not communicating. They were all going, you had a Zerg army. And I said, I wanted it to be big and loud. I wanted to get as many people on, everyone to be in their Discords going, bro, there's something big going on, jump on, to get the server packed. Don't be afraid to do something like that. And we didn't care whether we won or lost. And I think we kind of won, but it's still on the fence. I died in it, and being DayZ, you had to do a big run. We had people acting as couriers, and halfway points we'd set up to re-gear, and so much planning went into it. But this was an organic event, not even a Queens of the Castle sort of event. This was just a live event in a server. I'd love to see more people doing things like that. I can't even remember if I was streaming. I think I might have even been streaming the event that night as well. I think I was, because I think he used a lot of mine. But it's try to think of ways that you could add value to your server, whether it be a console one, and just try to create a community. And like someone said there, and don't be aggressive towards everyone you see. As a viewer, I like interaction with people 100%. How many kills do you remember? But how many strange people? It's one of the reasons why I love Fubar Bundy so much. His videos back in the day, I always loved interaction. Doesn't always need to be a friendly interaction either. There was plenty of people doing bandit stuff. I've mentioned so many of them in the past. The Lonely Bandit and Danny Boy, and just do something interesting other than just shooting and killing everything you see.
No, that is a great point, and that is one of my deficiencies. Part of my problem is I bought this fucking $250 Razer Black Shark Pro V2 gaming headset that does not work in VoIP. In DayZ on console. I have messaged the Razer people, and I had a ticket with them being like, what's my problem? They couldn't solve it. There's other things that I haven't tried yet that I'm going to, because I just got to get around to doing it. But that is something that I agree. That's how I would like to play the game. Like, I'm a PvP guy, but I want to play it like a Sour Sweet does. Like, I want to just start on the coast, meet somebody, and then go on like an adventure. Because
those big story videos, and
man, that like the times that I have done that, it's always been a fucking great adventure. And I mean, you could tune into my stuff on my channel and see what I'm talking about, because it is there. But having said that, like the culture on console is because there's Xbox Party Chat, PlayStation Party Chats, and Discord now. It's the same thing on PC, but there's much more. It's much more like faction focused. The game is reaching like an escape velocity phase that I don't think the devs intended. I think that's why they don't touch base building. I don't think they want to make it any more conducive to owning and building a base than it already is. But it still has its merits, and the game is still like a blast.
Please give us a solid roof for the watchtowers. Please give us a solid roof for the watchtowers. That's all we ask. I want more, but that'd be just the bare minimum. Able to build instead of a stairwell and a hatch, enable us to just make it a sealed unit, so we can build a little compact 4x4 or 2x2 or 1x1 in the middle of the woods or something.
Yeah. Can we do a piss break quick?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I need to as well. We'll be back in a minute or so, folks.
Beautiful.
Come on. Okay. Come on. Yep, I'm back as well.
Dude, I feel like a new man.
Same. He wrote that in chat as well. I feel like a new man. Oh, yeah, you wrote that. Yeah. But no, look, that is one of the most important things, because if you want to just do your own thing, go play on the officials. But if you could find a good server that has a really good community, that is it's hard, but it's so important to try to add some value to think of the other people and how what you're doing is going to affect them. I've seen people do raids where they set up a burn barrel and they just burn everything and destroy every wall. And it's like, if I was running a community server, I would say, you're not welcome here, mate. That was just mean-spirited. Unless there's a story that the other party are in on, it was some sort of hostile enmity and you were going to raise them to the ground or whatever. But when you just do that out of spite, no, go fucking play on official where there's no soul to the server, and that's just nasty.
Yeah, dude, official is disgusting, and I don't want to disparage the game because I do love the game, but there is such a pervasive issue right now on console official scenes where the duping is so unmitigated to where like the only people that build bases are dupers themselves, and then they get into these pissing matches of like who can stay up with the latest glitches and exploits, where they're skywalking with field bags on their back full of thumper rounds, thumping each other into oblivion in the sky, lag switching each other, and hitting Cronus Zim clips and then posting them to Facebook. Like, if you want to see what I'm talking about, just search DayZ console on Facebook and you will see all these clips that I'm talking about. It is fucking disgusting. And I got to be careful what I say because I actually don't want to piss these guys off. They are so ahead of the curve when it comes to pushing the envelope for the exploits and glitches on the console side that they will come to your server and make your life hell and put you in these clips. I don't want to piss them off too much, but it's brutal. Oh, look at that pup. What was the name? Maxine Maisie?
His full name is Maximus.
Maximus.
Because I like to think of Rome as well. And we just call him Maxwell, everything. But
Maximus.
Maximus.
Ah, that's fucking money, man. But because of the state of the game on console, I found my way to KarmaKrew. I was looking for a server like KarmaKrew's rule set for over 4 years. When I found it, I just never put the game down. I never put the server down. Because of my position with my current agency and my job, like if I'm on top of my stuff and I'm working from home, I'm able to log on at certain times and play. So that's kind of how I get around that with the kids and the family and whatnot while they're all at school or daycare. But yeah, man, there's a lot to be had on the console side. And if you're a console player and you found this and you're watching it, like seriously, man, start punching in Xbox DayZ, PlayStation DayZ, Console DayZ in the algorithm and find some of these creators. Infected Noob was in here earlier. Him and Unbound Clown do awesome stuff. The Greedy Peasant is like an awesome ambassador. He's like our boydie on the console side.
He's a good egg.
Guys, yeah, man, they're guys worth checking out. If you like the PC streamer stuff and their stuff, Toprek, Minder, those guys, like you'll find that in my channel. I definitely am not those guys. I wouldn't compare myself or model a play style after anybody. I like to play the game.
When are you going to get Minder to go play console?
We've asked and we've tried. He is dragging his feet. He easily could. He's just been dragging his feet. But he's got a lot of different things going on. His priorities are focused on KarmaKrew these days.
Smart guy. Like I don't blame him. If you're doing it as a business, there is more money in server ownership than there is in content creation, unless you get to the point where you're getting some big sponsorship deals. But DayZ is a hard game to get those around because it's a niche game, and the game is also rather unfiltered. So a lot of big sponsors would be reluctant to sponsor someone when you could easily have someone to run up and start dropping N-bombs and
But I love him. He is an absolute twat. I love Minder. He has done a ton for us in the console scene. I will always forever be in his debt and loyal to him for the things that he pushes for us to the dev level of the game, and even just bringing his server and his vision for the game to console, I think is the antidote to the things that I bitch about. Get rid
of that fucking guy who's holding the team back, that Mike Doherty.
Oh, Mike. Yeah, Mike's got to go, dude.
Like, he's got to go, that guy.
If you're driving a boat on Sakal and you're getting frustrated that the ice sheets don't make any sense, just send Mike Doherty a nice little DM on Discord. Let him know what you think about him.
Look, basically anything that's wrong with the game is Mike Doherty's fault. It's as simple as that.
I couldn't agree more. It's just about trimming the fat, and Mike finds a way to stay around.
Look, my theory is that he was the diversity hire, the special needs person that companies like to have, so they can tick those boxes.
Very astute. I agree.
I love Mike, and he is an incredibly talented young guy. I am hanging the shit, taking the piss, in case you don't know my story with Mike. I love him. I think he's fucking awesome.
He is
he's a good young egg. He's a fucking good egg. When I talked before the show, I was saying that other than like Mark's and a couple of others, but Minder as well, Toprek, were the people I got along with the best out of the actual guests who were there. Mike Doherty, got along with him like a house on fire. Fucking lovely young guy. His missus is a lovely young girl. He's just a good kid. I fucking have so much time for him.
Yeah, well said. I think the game needs it needs Mike Doherty's. It needs fucking Minders. It needs Boydies. It needs the Greedy Peasants. It needs the Project Lemons. It needs people like that to be ambassadors of this game, representing like the player base to the devs. And I think we hit home runs with those guys at the core. I'm proud.
There are many people who would disagree with me being in a list along with those others, but I appreciate the sentiment all the same.
No, but see, so to me, it's not just about the game and the game's needs. It's about the fucking community. The people that you interview and the stuff that you put out is there to elaborate and enhance the game, in my opinion. And to me, it does. Like, as a fan of the game, I absolutely love the work that you've done and the interviews you've done with everyone, dude. With everyone.
You actually sent me a message. You spoke to me about my most contentious interview. The one with the running Matt Z, as he's calling himself now. Fuck, he's a troll, that guy.
Dude, I love that because I was at that Xbox NCRP event that started his whole saga. I played in it. I didn't win.
Was he right in what he claimed happened?
No, I have no idea.
I have no idea. Yeah.
What, dude? This was before I was streaming and stuff. When I died, I logged off. But months later, when I saw his video on YouTube, I was like, dude, I was at that one. Like, my name is in the player list. I played in it, and I heard his story, and I was like, that is just fucking. And so I followed silently from the sidelines, and I've run into him and spoken to him in game when he was in character and stuff on that server and others. So I've always like known of his stuff, and he cracks me up, and you know. That's the extent of what I'll say, because I think as a player, I used to fall into this trap as well. You see what happened and you interpret it in a way that isn't actually correct based on what the admins can see. Even if you're correct, the admins can only see what they can see from like their tools and their perspectives. So they're going to make the call if they're a good admin, like the best way that they can. If they get it wrong sometimes, like they get it wrong, man. Like I get it wrong on KarmaKrew constantly. And when I do, I try to drag those guys into tickets. I invite them back personally in the DMs, and own the mistake in the Discord as best I can, because that's all that you can do. In Matt's case with that specific scenario, I only know what you know. I only know what he put out and what the other people put out in the comments and from the interviews and his videos. That's it.
Special message on the screen there for you, mate.
Diesel, dude, there was a 6-month period in KarmaKrew where Diesel and I were the only two console admin doing tickets. So him and I were in the fucking trenches, and we dealt with the guys doing their best attempts to alt bypass. We dealt with hackers that were trying to like crash the server. So I got a lot of love for Diesel. Fucking cool story, cool guy. He's got a fucking cool community of people around him.
Again, done an episode with Diesel, folks. Go check it out. I've offered to go on his podcast as well to talk, because I love what he's doing as well. Yeah.
Diesel's
another good male role model.
Yeah,
a man who embraced that learn from your mistakes philosophy, didn't he?
Yeah. We've butt heads a million times. He's a guy of principle, and I will always respect.
And you don't hate him? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
I hate everyone equally.
I'm an equal opportunity hater.
That's correct. Yeah.
Now, I've got a question I have to ask, and this is a complete segue, but this is because it's from my DayZ brother, Vigilante Gamer. And this goes back to, it's away from DayZ, but it goes back to, he was very interested in when I explained to him your background. Vigilante, for those who know of him, he's a deep thinker. He's a very analytical mind, great tactician, all the rest of it. But he had a particular question about a particular historical incident. The question is, would love to hear your thoughts on the Trump shooting incident, and I'd like to make a few comments myself. I'm wondering if you would like to correct me or disagree. Some people, like Joe Rogan, speculated that it was intentional, a conspiracy to kill Trump. Personally, I find it very easy to think this was a matter of human error, insufficient planning, normalcy bias, multiple agencies who have little to no experience working with each other, separate radio channels, and poor communication. People in the chain of command who got the message of a suspect early, who failed to escalate the response to a sufficient level, people assuming that others were taking care of certain issues when they were not. The fact you can go through an entire career without experiencing this type of incidents, which creates complacency. It goes on and on. However, at the end of the day, one team returned fire within 4 seconds, another team fired in about 12 seconds to kill him. One of those agents looked kind of sloppy while evacuating Trump, but I respect the fact that she was willing to be a meat shield for her client. No one is incapable of fucking up, not even the Secret Service. These incidents are complex, and you don't get a practice run under exactly the same conditions before the real thing. Never attribute to malice that which can be explained by incompetence or lack of experience and preparation. What are your thoughts on that assessment of that situation?
It was Israel. No, I'm kidding. That's a joke, guys. That's a joke. Everyone relax. It's a joke. It's a joke. Please don't clip me.
I love you for saying that. I love you for saying that. Zionist. The Zionist. It's a fucking Zionist.
That was, in all seriousness, that was the most thoughtful way to ask that question. Well thought out, well reasoned. That guy's got a 10-gallon brain.
He does, mate.
Going to be
He's too
awesome.
smart to be associated with a fucking retard like me. That's for sure.
Right. But I have been asked that question in a bunch of different ways from family and friends. But what I will say about it is this: from my buddies that were there, the service is responsible for concentric layers of security, from like a far out perimeter, like an intermediate perimeter, and then like the protectee himself. That was an absolute deficiency on behalf of the Secret Service, not identifying and covering that rooftop. The reason that this all took place and happened is because the service for years has been understaffed, under-resourced, and underappreciated. The agents that were there that day have been working for months straight without a day off, working 12 to 14-hour shifts. It becomes their life, and you get fucking tired and you start pushing. That situation in particular there in Butler, the agents running the show for the local counterpart of the Secret Service responsible for the security plan, like that was junior agents. The woman he's referring to, she was entirely too junior to be doing that job correctly. So the onus is on her. It's also on the detail leader, who's now the director of the Secret Service from that shooting incident. Like it's his responsibility at the end of the day to be checking and pushing the boundaries of like what he thinks about that particular environment. The counter snipers that were there that day that actually killed the assassin, they were given like 24-hour notice. Typically, those guys show up a week in advance to conduct what's literally called an advance and assess like their shooting, their fields of fire, and like assign sectors of priority to themselves and make like full-on map grids of it. They're the best shooters in the world. Whenever special forces from around the world get together to host friendly competitions, Secret Service snipers win every single one, every single time. All they do is shoot. So shout out to that guy, okay, for taking the shooter's head off when he did. It was his first shot. It was an odd angle. They weren't exactly sure what they were looking at, what they were seeing, and he hit the shot. So the real hero of that situation is the counter sniper that
what range was that shot at that he did?
It was I think it was roughly 300 meters. So the effective range of like an AR-15, which is what the shooter was shooting at or was using. But the story from my friends that were there, as I understand it, is that the service, their outer security bubble, basically ended before that rooftop. So everything beyond that rooftop, they dished out to local PD, like the local police department, to handle and cover. What I know,
I heard that a cop had identified and put his head up and saw him, and then went back down again. And again, a failure of communication to, that should have been an instant, code word that this is critical, and get him off the stage.
Yeah, so we have all that, man. And there's a police briefing beforehand with the local counterparts, and they're brought up to speed on everything. I wasn't at the briefing. I didn't see how the lead agent handled it and what they said. Obviously, it was not up to par. But what I do know is this: if local PD, which is on our channels, passes word to us of a threat of that nature, like President Trump never takes the stage. So all the conjecture about like local police said that they passed word, like they didn't. It's just not possible. Like no, the Secret Service would never allow somebody on stage. So all the people that like are wondering if it was a conspiracy, Joe Rogan floated it. Like I can tell you, like if you take my word for anything as an internet guy sitting here talking through a logo, like
look, I have a philosophy. I'll take it at face value until until evidence proves otherwise. And based on your experience, I'm going to take you as a trusted source.
That is what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania, is a result of overworked, under-resourced Secret Service agents and like rookie incompetence and negligence. That is what took place that day. The shooter himself, his story, his background, like that is actually up for debate, and I will not argue how sketchy and weird it is. But the service playing a part in some grand conspiracy isn't true. But what I will say about the incident itself, like from what I understand, my friends have told me this. Local PD get word from the crowd screaming that there's a strange guy on the roof. They were aware of this guy before, that he was flying a drone and doing some other things, but that happens a lot, and we won't end an event for that alone. Anyway, the local crowd is shouting that there's a sketchy man on the roof. Local PD and state police go to the roof, set up a ladder, and the cop that first climbed the ladder to look at the guy, he peeks his head over the top of the roof and makes eye contact with the assassin, who turns the barrel of his rifle at the cop to engage. And that's when the local PD guy's like, holy shit. And he pushes himself off the roof, falls to the ground, ends up actually breaking his ankle on the ground. So he's passing word like, guy on the roof with a gun. But that's when the kid immediately put the rifle back into position and opened fire on President Trump. So I think the only reason President Trump
so that actually is good to hear, because there's a lot of people out there like, how did he fucking miss? And we've got an example, sadly, of not missing. And what range was he to Trump again?
It was roughly 300 meters.
Roughly 300 meters. So a more difficult shot, but for a scoped rifle, no, that's not a hard shot, folks.
No.
But when you are therefore rushed and you've gone from being in a perfect position, able to time everything, so he knows he's been sprung. Yep, the adrenaline spike. His breathing increases, the chances of him, and he still clipped the ear. He was, unlike poor Charlie, who was stationary sitting in a chair. Trump was standing, and we all know what he's like. He's quite animated. Loves to move around on that. So it was a hard shot. An easy one to miss. So again, this is great information to hear.
I genuinely believe the only reason that President Trump is alive today is because that local PD stuck his head up and freaked out the shooter enough to where he panicked, put the rifle back into position, and immediately opened fire.
So there really was no time then for him to get an alert out, and with the complex comms plan, for that plan to have gotten to the agents on the ground.
Correct. But even so, is like, if the local PD were responding outside of the perimeter to a threat of that nature, meaning like a guy on the roof, they would have pulled President Trump off the stage. For my friends that were there, they guarantee me that was never passed. The word was never sent to the security room. Then I take their word for it. I trust those guys. I worked with them.
What did you think of Trump stopping him to punch his fist up in the air? Not about the political message he was sending, but about, I know if I was one of the, as Bidge said, the meat shields, I'd be fucking pissed at him. Like, bro, please just fucking go. There's time for that later.
Yeah. As a Secret Service agent, yes, at that point the game changes. We're actually supposed to do what we're getting paid to do. That sucks. But him doing that, I mean, I wanted to run through a brick wall. The moment he did that and I saw it, I was like, the election's over. He's won. There's never been a presidential candidate in American history who's had an assassination attempt on him and didn't win the election. So I knew it was over. But it also made me proud, because that is the quintessential American spirit, is that scenario. Somebody tries to take your life or your opinion or your beliefs, and you get right back up in the same state, blood dripping from your face, pump your fist in the air and say, fight. That is America. And that is why it will never be conquered. So I loved it, man. I liked it, but I obviously felt for the agents at the time, but they didn't let him posture up there too long. He got his photo off, and they got him into the vehicle as fast as they could. The agent that Vigilante is referring to, who's relatively green, you could say. So I feel for her, because she was put in a tough situation. I have my own other opinions that I unfortunately can't really share. I guess that's the extent of it. I don't know.
I will share my opinion in that I think women are perfectly capable of doing many, 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 many jobs, but there are some jobs that, unless they can meet the same physical standard as a male, they shouldn't be doing. And I just watched a video the other day of two females trying to arrest a 140-pound Mexican guy in a restaurant, and they could not control him. And he was laughing. He was absolutely laughing. And unless they can meet the same, not a lowered, not a compromised one, No. Find other jobs. There are many, many jobs. Like, fuck, they could have been the snipers up on the roof. We know women can fucking shoot, mate. History is full of amazing female snipers. Look at Russia. They produce some of the fucking best. But in that sort of a role, no.
No, I agree.
Physically, they're not even big enough to be a meat shield. Men are bigger. They make better meat shields. I'm sorry if that offends you. Well, no, I'm not sorry. But I understand that may offend you, but that says more about you. Horses for courses, folks. You don't put a draft horse into a fucking galloping race, and you don't put a galloper into fucking a farm to pull fucking wagons. You choose the right tool for the job.
Oh, that's it, man. That's really all there is to be said.
Was that basically what you didn't want to say without saying it?
Yeah.
And I don't pull punches here, mate. It's not sexist. It's not horrible. It's just no worries, Zombuster. I love doing it, mate. It's just my little way of doing something nice and getting a bit of a endorphin rush from, hey, I made someone's day. They got a free game out of listening to me fucking talk shit and watch one of 9 ads.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
But yeah, it's sad. I wish it wasn't that way, but that's life. And I think you said earlier, you just got to sometimes accept the cards you're dealt. And unfortunately, I was never coordinated enough to be a good basketball player, as much as I would have loved to have been in the NBA and played for the Chicago Bulls. It was never going to happen. I wasn't good enough. So I'm just glad that I got to watch people like Michael Jordan and Dennis Rodman and all the rest of them. And, when I was still following, I don't follow it anymore. But I take joy in that. I take joy in that there are people more talented musically, more talented at creating content than I am. I do what I'm good at, which is talking underwater with a mouthful of marbles.
Hell yeah, man. The marble mouth Euros thing is something I'm still working on, man. Trying to understand my British friends in my team they typically play with. Getting used to the accents. What a riot.
Just tune into a fucking Uncle Ray stream when he starts again. If you can understand that motherfucker, you're doing better than me. Jeez.
They speak the Queen's English over there. Let me tell you something.
Mate, he does not speak the Queen's English. He speaks some bastardized fucking weird ass fucking version of it. The Queen's English I can understand perfectly. He speaks fucking Yorkshire, or I don't know, maybe there's a pom in chat who can tell me what fucking version he speaks. I think I can understand Mike Doherty better than I can understand fucking Ray.
That's a riot, man. That is a riot.
Yeah. Brother, we have been going for 2.5 hours. Is there anything else that you want to address that we haven't?
I guess the only thing that I want to say is like, if you're listening to this, you're probably a student of the game, student of DayZ. You're like interested in it in the same way that I am. If you're a console guy, start getting involved in the console stuff, because the scene is emerging. I like to think that I'm a part of it, and I think
especially now it's on PlayStation Plus.
Right. I think the future of Console DayZ looks bright. I think the future of DayZ looks bright. All the complaints that I have about it are entirely mitigated by the fact that I am confident in the dev team. Like, over time, they always do the right thing. They drag their feet and take time, but they always end up doing the right thing. I'm fucking proud to be playing this game. I'm proud to be playing this game on console. And if you want like the shit that PC has on console, fucking give me a look. I think you'd be pleasantly surprised. And that's all I really have to say about it.
Communicate better, DayZ. That's all I ask of. That was the key takeaway from last week's podcast episode. Just tell us what's going on.
I saw that.
I have faith in them. I love the dev team. They are some of the nicest people. I've got some people I call actual friends who I was so blessed and lucky to get to go and meet Marks and Lad and Mike Doherty and Dancer Jesus and all the rest of the team that I got to meet. It was an amazing fucking surreal experience. But just communicate with us. Let us know what's going on. Give us information. Honesty and integrity from admins also right. Hey, Frattinz?
Amen. That goes infinitely a long way.
Yeah. My man, thank you so much for this. It was absolutely a fascinating interview. I really enjoyed it. You've lived one hell of a life, my man, and I hope one day you get to write a memoir and tell the stories, tales from the inside, because I'm certain you've got a lot more that you just can't due to your professionalism in your role, and I respect that, my man. I do. And some of the hot mic situations, bro. Did you see the one recently with Putin and Xi Jinping in the car, and them talking about fucking organs and
living forever?
Jesus. And I'm certain you've heard some weird shit fucking as well, and just gone, this motherfucker's in charge of the country. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that'll make you wonder.
Hey, one last question. Tendies and hookers, did it happen?
You talking about Cartagena with the service?
the Steele dossier.
Oh no, didn't happen.
I know. A 4chan fucking meme got turned into fucking reality. It was like, oh my God, this world, this timeline that we live in. Now we've got wild. Fucking assassins fucking talking Uwu notices bulge. I'm like, what does that even mean? I'd seen Uwu written all those times, and I was like, figured it was just some weird fucking anime shit. Looked it up and went,
oh my God,
fucking world. This fucking, oh my God. But hopefully we're seeing a correction, just not an overcorrection, which is one thing I want to finish on. We sort of touched on it, but I get why people are pushing back, but don't allow it to go too far. And I think we're at a big risk, and there are politicians pushing for an overcorrection, and that is not what we want, guys. We need to get it back to normalcy. It went too far with cancel culture from the left, and some of the ideologies that I've been quite vocal on, that I don't need to reiterate again. People know my stances. If you don't, look up on Twitter the people who hate me, and they'll tell you why I'm a evil motherfucker. But we just need to get back to some normalcy, some good old-fashioned values. As much as some people hate hearing that, it's all about progression. We need to, no, not always. Sometimes family values and all the rest of it. I didn't agree with everything Charlie said, but as I said last week, who do you agree with everything that comes out of their mouth? If you do, you're in a cult.
No, man. Couldn't have said it better
myself. You need
myself.
to be critical. You need to be critical of everyone, especially those on your own side. And just be careful. I'm seeing way too much people taking glee in going after everyone who said something stupid. And yes, there are some people who fully need to be held accountable for the shit they've said after what happened to Charlie. But just be careful you don't go too fucking far, folks, because all you get to do is create an overcorrection in the future when the balance, it will always tip. The balance is always tipping one side to the other. And for the majority of us who are in the middle and slightly to the left or right of center, we get sick of seeing it. I just want to have some stability in my world.
Amen.
My brother, a great interview. You've got some great stories, and might have to have some chats with you off the line. And I think I've got someone I need to introduce you to that I think you might have some interesting common backgrounds that you can possibly, as you feel each other out and get comfortable with each other, you might be able to have some nice chats.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I'll fill you in on that after the interview. But yeah,
of course.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for hanging around. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, man, on behalf of Console, like, this is a fucking honor. Been a big fan for a long time. Don't forget about us, our plight. We are here and we aren't going anywhere. And, we'd love to hear a little bit more about your lore as well.
Awesome, brother. Yeah. And you're creating your own lore right now.
Amen.
Next week, it's been a long morning, and I was up late last night with my dog, so I do have a guest lined up for next week. So stay tuned. But yeah, I'm going to be trying to pump out one of these each week. I've got 3 guests lined up for the next few weeks. Is it Ill Manners? Yep, I think it's Ill Manners. So I'm going to be trying to get some of the people in the Creator Club. Because I'm really proud of what we've achieved in the Creator Club. You just joined it recently, not Frattinz. What do you think of it?
I think it is fucking awesome. I've already had a bunch of people reach out to me fixing issues that I had. It is fucking awesome. Get in there if you're looking to be a creator.
Yep, doesn't matter if you're big, small, just starting, whatever. Big guys, we need you in there to help give some guidance to the little guys. Little guys, get in there, ask your questions. The only stupid question is the one you don't ask. Create a club, application form in the podcast Discord, discord.gg/878 Survivor FM. Again, it's just something I like to do to try to make the world a better place. No politics, no drama, and just people sharing information and trying to help each other. A rising tide lifts all boats. Ladies and gentlemen, see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Later.